Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. You know where to find us. We're coming in as clean shaven as possible for most of us because it is the start of Movember. I am Chris Perfett, the adequate host at Chris Perfett on Twitter. Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit on Lion. Clean shaven and dreading this month, I think, in many which ways, because last month his mustache completely took everything out of control. Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. He's very, very clean shaven because we are all joining in the action this week. Look, it sounds like I'm stalling to talk about the Lions. We've taken the policy of front loading these things as much as possible with Lions talk, but Movember means a lot to us. We're going to start with this because I don't think there's any other place to fit this in right now. This was supposed to be a momentous day for us, the November 1st, where we start, Jeremy, and we've got not one but two charities this month, and we've got an exorbitant amount of features to talk about. So we're going to try to talk about them briefly real quick because this means a lot to us. This has become a big part of Pride of Detroit.
Yeah, no question. I mean, last year the mustache kind of took on a thing of its own, and unfortunately, kind of like all of the attention we got was inward, and like I appreciated all the support we got for the Twitch channel and all that, but I want to kind of to redirect that to something a little bit more benevolent, I guess. Maybe not the right word for it, but charitable essentially. And so for the first half of the month, we're gonna donate, or we're going to ask you all to donate to the Prostate Cancer Foundation. I know that was something that Ryan specifically wanted to, a charity that meant a lot to him. And then for the back half, we're going to also raise money for RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, which is something that Chris suggested, also a cause near and dear to his heart. And if you've been around our charity drives in the past, we've run a bunch and we try to make it as fun as possible. And I think now is a great time for that, right? To have a little bit of fun with this Lions fandom.
Well, we're gonna try to have some fun here. And yeah, you mentioned how much it means to me. I obviously, in case those don't know, I am a sexual assault survivor myself from my childhood. So RAIN does mean a lot to me too. We were trying to find something very specific for male sexual assault survivors. Don't get any kind of support whatsoever, but we have, but we do that in our way by growing mustaches, Ryan. And I can see you're very clean shaven for expecting what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I mean, it actually worked out quite nicely because I decided to go as Joe Dirte for Halloween. So I had to,
I don't know who that is.
I had to shave the majority of my face anyway. So it was as Chris mentioned, with the organization that we're donating on the back half of the month, the first half of the month, it means a lot to me. My dad is somebody who just officially went into remission from his prostate cancer that he decided to have operated on. So he's had a lot of complications with it and things like that, but that he's finally in remission is awesome. He's one of the lucky ones though. So that's why I wanted to choose that charity as.
And now it's the silly side of it, which is that we have a lot of stuff to give away. We have raffle tickets. Ryan's thrown into the pot a TJ Hawkinson signed. A TJ Hawkinson jersey. Excuse me.
He'll sign it if you want. Ryan.
We'll see. Ryan will sign it. Ryan will sign it. But we also got signed stuff from Penei Sewell and Jamal Williams. Footballs signed by Jamal Williams and Penei Sewell. We've got 2 lower bowl tickets to the Lions versus Vikings on December 5th. We got Lions scarf. We've got Pride of Detroit shirts. Questionable tees. Our friends who sent us the Jamal Williams sweatshirts have thrown in several different offerings from prize packages. That's all just on the raffle. That's just all on the raffle. But then every $5,000, it gets weird because Ryan's going to shave into a mustache at 5,000. Jeremy, you've got like Ned Flanders cosplay and Ted Lasso cosplay. We might get you to dye it blue again, which happened last year because you guys wouldn't stop. And then every $200, you said end of the month, but I think we're going to do this depending on how many people donate. Might be every like charity. I'm making a mixed drink 7 sins, and you can pick up to everyone who donates $200. The first 7 people each 15 days puts in an ingredient in that, and they'll have to drink that awful suicide slurry. Barring, but it can't be too expensive, but we'll see what we can.
Yeah.
We've got other stuff too. We can mute a podcast host for a minute. We can, every donation I see, I'm going to try to make a Lions pun where we can. You can become a guest on the POD cast for enough money too, or write an article on the POD cast, or take control of Jeremy's Twitter account for a little bit.
Maybe. We'll see about that one. I don't know. I kind of got rid of that one last year because it got me in a little bit of trouble.
It got you into trouble.
But we'll see. And just the other point to make, for a live audience, if you want to donate, ! Donate in the chat. We'll bring you a link. You can also, if you're on a PC, there's a donate button. You can click on that under the stream. But in terms of the raffle, if we wanted to make a raffle ticket very cheap because we know some of these big rewards cost $100, $200, $500, and that's not realistic for a lot of people to give. A raffle ticket to be entered into a chance to win all those prizes that we just mentioned was $20, and I feel like that's a reasonable amount for most people to have in terms of dispensable income in a month. So if you have that $20, we'd appreciate it, and it gets you a chance to win priceless things, a jersey that costs over $100, Lions tickets that cost, we all know how much it costs to get into football games these days. Signed footballs. I mean, those are priceless items. Penei Sewell, for God's sakes, a guy who's probably going to be in the city for a decade. So, if you can afford anything, $20 gives you a shot.
We've got entry level. We've got entry level. Yeah, we got entry level stuff. We've got high roller stuff. This is a big month for us. We're going to remind you each month, and I know that it sounds like we have completely stalled this first segment rather than talking about the Detroit Lions, which is kind of fine right now. But this is born out of the love of the fact that the POD cast, the Pride of Detroit community, has been insanely cool and awesome the past year. Last time we did this last year, there was so much money thrown our way. We were just like, we're going to do our own charities rather than Movember's official one. And then you guys kept that abominable thing on Jeremy's lip for 6 months. It was ridiculous. And hopefully you can keep doing that again, because I don't know what happens if the donations keep going after this month. We're going to become very desperate to keep that money rolling.
We'll see. And one final thing before we actually jump into Lions talk too is we're giving you guys extra content because the Lions have been so cool about this entire thing. But they're the ones that donated the football tickets as well. They're setting us up with exclusive interviews too. So most of them are going to be mustache themed. I'll spoil it right now, or facial hair themed. But starting literally tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to start doing some interviews live on our Twitch channel, and we'll obviously throw it on the podcast feed with some Lions players. So it's cool that they've offered some time as well as some of these gifts.
And I hope they don't hear what's about to come next on this podcast. Because we love covering this team dearly, but this was a rough one, and we're going to get into it for a little bit now that that's out of the way. And again, I feel like we have just been trying to what's the word in Congress? Is it filibuster? It's filibuster. We have been trying to filibuster what comes next by trying to tell you about, hey, we've got these amazing charities to donate to, and Ryan's father, with battling prostate cancer, and and for me, a sexual assault survivor who's never really had any kind of fucking help in my entire life, like trying to donate to this. And we're doing all this, and it's a great cause. It's very emotional, and it's going to be very funny when Jeremy has a blue mustache and I am drinking a cocktail of 3 different hot sauces and vodka and I don't know, sochu or something. And we're doing all this, and we're sitting here and laughing, and just looming over our shoulders is the score from Philadelphia Eagles Detroit Lions that I don't want to even read right now. It feels like this thing over here is waiting to ruin our fun. It's waiting to ruin our fun. It feels like we could just ignore this for an entire podcast and we would be fine. Except maybe the people I hope is talk more sports. Why is Chris such a bad host? But I am genuinely curious about the mood in Detroit. Do we really want to talk about this right here? I will talk about it. I did talk about it, and I will keep talking about it because it's a weird one, but it feels like this is the one where everyone just wants to go to sleep on. And yes, as I am looking at our Twitch chat right now, if you're listening to the podcast, there is several people saying, Less sports talk, please.
I'd love to do that. And this is why, I mean, I wanted a win so bad so that we could go into the bye week and have like 2 weeks of being like, hey, good things happened and it'd be a good kickoff to November and everything. But I don't think we could have gotten anything less that. It was a disaster of epic proportions, and you'd think, having seen something similar happen 2 weeks ago against the Bengals, it would help. But then the Bengals went on a tear, and you're like, oh, the Bengals maybe are actually kind of good. Of course, then they end up losing to the Jets this week, and you're like, oh, maybe that was kind of bad. But listen, this was a bad Eagles team. This was a poorly coached Eagles team. This is an Eagles team that the Lions matched up well against. And the Lions sucked so bad. And it was hard to watch. And I tweeted it out, and it's my main takeaway from this game. Like, this is the first game where the biggest issue of the entire team was coaching. They got out-coached. Dan Campbell knew it. Dan Campbell said it, and he meant it, and I believed him, which is in opposition to Matt Patricia, where he would say, you know, I got to coach better every week, and you're just like, do you even know what those words mean at this point? Because you just keep saying them over and over again. Dan Campbell's like, no, I messed up here. And it was obvious, right? Like, we talked to Brandon Ryan about how much he hated the coaching in this game, and the coaching on that team, and how defensively they were vanilla, offensively they weren't running the ball enough, and they weren't throwing it downfield enough, and they come out and just hit the Lions by complete surprise. And even some of the defensive players said it, like, they came out in formations that we didn't see, that we didn't practice as much because it wasn't there on tape. So suddenly the Eagles are the better coached team in this one, where I thought that might have been the Lions' biggest advantage in this game, because we all saw what they did last week against the Rams. They put the team, they pulled out all the stops. And this was the week that the Eagles pulled out the stops, and the Lions just didn't have an answer to it. And it was distressing, to say the least.
Well, you mentioned the running game, Jeremy. I have to, we have to put numbers to it, because this is what you see when you open up this box score. Like, if you weren't looking at the final, if you weren't looking at the score, Jalen Hurts, 9 of 14 for 103 yards through the air. If you were like, well, the Lions bottled up the Eagles passing game, they can't do anything on the run. They haven't done anything on the run all year. 46 carries for 236 yards and 4 touchdowns. There were 4 rushing plays where there were 4 longest runs by Philadelphia Eagles players that were greater than 10 yards. Like, huge chunk plays that the Eagles were getting on the ground. And if it wasn't for more than 10 yards, it truly felt like every time the Eagles ran the ball, it was at least 4 yards. Yeah. Like, if I'm going to go back and watch this game, because it's the bye week, and I guess we're all just into pain. I want to chart how many rushing plays went for less than 4 yards. And I bet you I could probably count it on one hand.
And it's hard. I don't think people realize this. When you rush the ball 46 times, it's hard to average over 5 yards a carry. Usually you're going to be like 4.2, because towards the end of the game, you'll run the ball and everyone knows you're going to run the ball, and you'll go do some 3 and outs just trying to burn clock. 5.1 yards per carry on 46 carries is unacceptable. It's ridiculous. And I came into this game thinking, okay, let's look at the Lions' 4 units. Their pass offense, their run offense, their pass defense, their run defense. Which is the best out of those 4? I would have picked the run defense. And I mean, last week they shut down the Rams offense in terms of running the ball. And to look at the PFF grades, and you see that the two of the lowest grades came from Michael Brockers and Nick Williams. Your 2 veteran guys right up the damn middle. You can't have that. You can't have that. And this might get me into my larger point, which is like, it's the Animal House, like, everything is fine, like, let's not freaking panic, is people, I tweeted out, like, that they graded horribly on PFF, and it was like, well, there's your veteran leadership giving up on the team. They don't care anymore. They've been lionized. All right, let's chill out on that a little bit. Let's chill out on everything is horrible. This Lions team has lost the locker room. Everyone's not giving effort, blah, blah. Like, last week, we were just talking about how amazing this coaching staff was and how much fight this team still has against a Rams team that was miles better than the Eagles team that they, like, we can't just keep moving from one end of the spectrum to another end of the spectrum. Like,
Yeah,
it was a bad game. It was a disaster. The Lions got absolutely outcoached, but I still don't think there's any evidence that this team is given up.
No, and I think that was my big takeaway on this, and I think I talked about this before with Jeremy, and I feel like we talked about this in past weeks, where the modus operandi of podcasts in years past was like us sifting through the sands of bad football teams and figuring out, hey, which way is this team trending? Because we just assumed that it was going to be kind of a mostly straight line with a few curves, like a stock or something, that we could just navigate and we could see, hey, this team is going, what kind of team is this going to be? And we would say that every week. And I remember several years where it'd be like even week 8, and we'd be like, hey, Jeremy, I still don't know what this team is. And part of that's because I'm an idiot and I don't process football that well. But at the same time, like, this team, I have figured out that the hallmark of a bad team is that there is no hallmark. You ain't got no identity when you are a bad team. And it took a while for that, though, to sink in, Jeremy, at least for this year, because, like, as you said, this team, like, kept fighting. I remember seeing, like, they were still highly rated as far as some of our metrics like DVOA out there for efficiency, even though they were a winless team, even though they were an 0-17. That all changed after this game. This was a correction to the mean as far as something like DVOA and efficiency was concerned, because the Lions weren't efficient at anything, anywhere at all, other than making all of Ford Field turn against Jared Goff as one, shrieking and cheering as David Blau comes in near the end of this game. But when you're a bad team, you don't have an identity. There is no consistency week to week. There is no trajectory that you can chart. And even good teams in the NFL in this awful week to week league, even good teams in the NFL can come out and have that one weird game where they get absolutely smoked by a team that they weren't expecting. Like the start of the season when the Eagles who just beat the Lions, got smoked out by the Falcons. No. They smoked out the Falcons. Excuse me.
I mean, the Packers game, right? Week 1.
The Packers game. But like that happens sometimes in the NFL, but it's exacerbated when you are a bad team and you don't have an identity week to week. And the Lions don't have an identity week to week other than trying to overcome their shortcomings. And I can't looking at the ground game for the Lions in this, I would have said Deandre Swift was a strong component, yards from scrimmage, but clearly he doesn't do much on the ground. And it can't just be that they lose Jamal Williams and they don't know what to do with the run game. It can't be that. But if you're a bad team like the Lions are, you're just going to have these weeks every now and then. It sucks. It's not really great to say because people expect a steady trajectory. It's not. This is the chart going up and down like an earthquake's going off. Like last week was high highs. This week was really lows. But it also doesn't mean anything at the end of it. It is sound and fury signifying nothing, Ryan.
Yeah. To your point, Chris, I want to ask if this is a fair question. I thought that this team established its identity back in April of this year. I thought that by grabbing Penei Sewell, grabbing Levi Onwuzurike, grabbing Aleem McNeil with their first 3 picks, it seemed like, hey, this Lions team is cliche, but they were establishing it on the fronts. They were doing it through the trenches. We talked about Penei Sewell being the last piece to their offensive line. We talked about, Brad Holmes comes in and re-signs Romeo Okwara, a guy that we thought could be part of the rebuild, but probably not at his price tag. Brad Holmes shelled out for it. Like all of their moves, I think leading up to the season was, we are going to be, and Dan Campbell said as much in his opening press conference, like we're going to be like a smash mouth football team. We're going to, the whole biting kneecaps and everything like that. It just never got off the ground. Like the offensive line that we all projected to be one of the up and coming units in the NFL never played a single snap with each other. Yeah. And I think for Chris's point, this is my question. Like, do you think it's fair to say that like the Lions wanted to have a certain identity? I think that they tried to establish it, but it just never came to fruition because of injuries and,
Sure. Yeah,
This is where the levee broke a little bit, because like, yeah, you want to be a smash mouth football team, but when Matt Nelson is literally being rolled up into a paper ball by Josh Sweat, it doesn't matter what you want to be. And that's not all on Matt Nelson. He's put in a bad situation. And maybe that contributes to Jared Goff taking all those sacks, but Jared Goff also like is part of the reason why those sacks exist in the first place. It just becomes like there are just so many foundational flaws right now, either because of personnel, because of what you couldn't sign, because of what the cap is, or because of either decisions and, of course, on top of it, injuries that have just resulted in a very rickety thing that, again, like if the Lions come out next week and like hang tough with the Steelers, I won't be surprised. Right. We'll have to rewrite all this stuff anyway, but like, that's what I mean. This team is different each week because bad teams are different each week.
Yeah, bad teams are inconsistent. That's what separates bad teams from good teams. Good teams are consistent all the time. Bad teams are not. And we'll get to the offense in a little bit but I want to talk about the defense because the defense has been hard to pin down, because 1 week they're stopping the run a bunch and 1 week they're not. And 1 week we're praising all the moves and improvements the secondary is getting, and then next week they're getting torched by Matthew Stafford, and so this team is, as Dan Campbell put it today, literally, he said, if this team needs to play perfect to win, then we need to play perfect, and that's kind of the razor's edge that they're living on right now. And when your only strength, and strength is in quotations here, is your run defense, and that fails you got no shot. Like, everything that happened offensively against the Eagles was not a surprise to me. Everything is what they've shown us pretty much week in, week out. Maybe the run game was a little worse than usual, and I think Jamal Williams had a big reason to do with that. But the defense, to me, is just like that sort. Like you said, this team built through the trenches. They got Michael Brockers because they needed a leader on that defense. They spend 2 day 2 picks on that defensive line. They give Romeo Okwara extension. It's clear that was a big priority, and sure, Romeo's gone now, but the rest of that defensive line is who they wanted it to be. And we all walked into the season thinking maybe it's pretty good. And to see them get manhandled by the Eagles yesterday, that was the biggest disappointment for me. And again, I bring it back to coaches. Like, I just think they were not ready for whatever this attack was that they gave, and it showed. Like, they were just not ready. They were not ready at all.
Yeah, and that's where we started. Let's take a quick break. I know we've went long talking about our Movember drive, so I'm going to give us some time to breathe back, to go over these individual things, because as Jeremy said, like, there's a lot to diagnose on both sides here. So we're going to take a quick break and come back and get right into that on the Pride of Detroit PODcast in Movember. Sorry, I just realized that that chat and Zoom just showed up for everyone.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know our notifications are off the board right now to start.
Yeah,
so
let's start with the donation.
Let's catch up there. Someone also redeemed a list cast, so I need to keep. I'm pulling that up as well. But yeah, go ahead.
For now, I'm going to keep it on this screen because I don't have like all the charity stuff on this stream. And apparently,
yeah. So no chat on this stream today. But guys, I've seen the. Oh, geez.
Sorry. Okay. What was I about to do?
But I just want to say, like, again, like, thank you guys for still showing up for this, and we are. This month is always a big one for us.
Okay, so before we even went live, we already had $100 in donations in total. Joe Sweeney gifted or donated $40, which is why I have the background that I do. He wanted a classy background for a classy podcast, in his words. So we're going with this background for now. Frank gifted donated $20. CLF,
now
who I know from. Go ahead.
Real quick, because I think this is a question coming up. Because see Baltimore B-Town asking us, do subs count towards donations?
They do not,
Jeremy. They do not. They do not. There is donate buttons, however. Yeah.
Hit the donate button. I know there was a 20 bomb in there, and I absolutely appreciate that. But yeah, unlike when we did the Kyle Caskey thing, this whole thing is set up through Tiltify. So We don't touch any of the money this time around. It's not you donate to us and then we pass it on to the charity. You donate straight to the charity, and we just get alerts for it. Frank with the $20, CLF, who is a common person in our Pride of Detroit chat on the website, $20 as well. It says shaving Jeremy shaving the mustache caused this losing. Blames it on me. Justin with the $20, Jason with the $20, Anonymous with the $40, CJ Craig with $100 says F cancer. I lost my dad to it. Me too, CJ. Appreciate you doing that. I believe he also redeemed so $100 donation, as you can see on. Hopefully you can actually read that. I don't know if the text is too small, but a $100 donation gives you the opportunity to write something on my face. So I don't know what you want, CJ, but you get. I see that
you earned it.
You earned it. And then Sad Indingo, who I imagine is Uncle Indigo in our chat, also donated $100 and also picked out the same reward of writing something on my face. So you both have the floor here. You can choose. No, I'm not going to write that down, Kyle, unless you donate. And I really hope you don't donate $100 to write that.
We've also got someone already asking for Jeremy's mozzarella sticks.
Did someone request that?
Yeah, Jason D. Walter has requested the mozzarella stick shirt. And I've got a listcast request from Matt Byrne 5. So for top 10 players you would bring to the Lions.
Oh, jeez.
While I'm thinking of that, and like Ryan, reactions to the Rams just continuing to collect the Chaos Emeralds by signing Von Miller.
I mean,
I'm trading for Von Miller.
Yeah, I was gonna say the thing that's always so fascinating about NFL trades, it's like I have no idea what players are worth. Yeah. I have no idea in terms of draft capital what players are worth. There's no way that you could have come to me this morning and been like, what's Von Miller worth? And I'm like, 2-day pick, 2-day 2 picks. Like, I wouldn't have known if it would have been less. I don't know if it should have been more. But it seems like the Rams just got way better, and it cost them a lot. I don't know.
Was it a second and a third? Is that what it ended up costing?
Yeah,
second and a third. But here's the thing: the Rams don't believe that draft picks are real.
Matter. Right? Yeah,
they're not real at this point for them. They're going all out because I think they realize, like, I think this is the lesson of the Kansas City Chiefs is like. There's always that old adage of, hey, do you want to be like a really good team for a while, but you're not guaranteed? Or do you want one championship and then you want to flame out back into irrelevancy? You know, the Philadelphia Eagles project.
Yeah. Well, that won't happen with Matthew Stafford around.
But I think the problem is that even the teams that we thought were going to be relevant for a long time, like say the Kansas City Chiefs, that's not always guaranteed. So I think they realize that, and they're like, you know what? We don't need young players. We're just going to go ham for 2 years.
Before we get into all that, can I catch up on the other alerts, the
yes.
Twitch alerts really quick, because we got a bunch of subs in there. Right off the bat, Cordy Aaron resub for 24 months, says 2 full years. Ooh-wee. Wow, 2 full years. That's crazy. 20 bits from Derek Boberg says, yay, POD. Arnick gifted a sub to Flamme Mortem, who I think that person just recently stopped by the chat and new to Twitch, so already getting that sub. Appreciate that. Constrictor with the 15 months using that Twitch Prime says time for optimism is next year. Yeah, probably. I'm eating nachos is the one who dropped the 20 bomb, by the way. 20 gifted subs. Thank you so much. I'm eating nachos. Appreciate that.
He's a regular on our Discord, which reminds me to do !Discord. And I think we haven't put it down there yet, but I think Jeremy, if we want to set like a threshold for like you donate X amount of money, I will give you like a special
like a Discord role, right?
Like a Discord role. I need to set it up, but maybe like $50 and above, you get a special Discord role for a year if you are joined to the
if you're part of the Discord community.
If you're part of the Discord community, and yeah.
Sure. Izzy then used this Twitch Prime for 11 months, one short of a year. Constrictor with the 1 bit says Lions winning on Thanksgiving. Carve it in stone. Junk Trunk with the 100 bits says I've given up on golf. I think the whole world has by now. Yeah.
We're going to talk about him in a second.
We will talk about him in a second. Qwerty Aaron with 16 bits says for the amount of losses the Lions will have this year, pride of cry. Hey, I'll take
That's
one.
hopeful.
Honestly, I'll take 1 in 16 at this point. If you can promise me this team won't go 0 in 17, I'll be like, all right, I'm in.
We're still particularly lucky in the tankathon order right now because Miami and Houston are both 1-win teams right now. And Philadelphia still somehow has Philadelphia, by the way, has Miami's pick, which makes this even worse in some ways. And the Colts pick. I think the Jets and the Giants have like additional picks. Like there was a bunch that happened in trading. So like there's but you know, Lions sit alone at the top.
Ajarm.
This is a year I know Jeremy doesn't want to talk draft, but this is a year that I'm sure he can get his rocks off on trade down.
I'm always down to get my rocks off for trade down talk.
Thank you.
Ajarm with the 7 months says I feel like an Eagles versus Lions game is always a blowout one way. Yeah, that kind of feels true, right? Like there was it Thanksgiving where the Lions just put a hurting on the Eagles, and then there was the snow game in which the Lions were kind of dominating, and then the Eagles just absolutely ran away within the second half.
I kind of joked this was revenge from the Eagles from that one Thanksgiving game in 2015, where I think we put like a 50 burger on them. Like Calvin Johnson went off for like 4 touchdowns in that game, and Mark Sanchez was in for quarterback for the Eagles, and he was just getting smoked the entire day.
Yeah, I guess I like that game a lot more than this one.
Yeah, I went to me, Alex, and Jerry all went to that game. We all sat in different sections, and a fight broke out with Eagles fans all in our separate different sections.
Yeah, Detroit with the 26 months, 2 subs today, over 2 years, or 2 years and over. And then Corbano with the $20 donation. Thank you. You got a raffle ticket. Okay. The Kuzno with the $100 says fuck cancer. Yeah, I'm not just going to say F cancer. Fuck cancer. Can I get some fuck cancers in the chat?
Load it up.
Baltimore beatdown with the $20 donation as well. Appreciate it, guys. One of the things we didn't mention, and if you read the Pride of Detroit post, you probably know about this, is we're bringing back the Wheel of Pain this year. Once we hit every $2,500 we hit, we're gonna bring out the spin wheel, and these aren't set in stone, but I think these are a good four things on the spin wheel, and I'll show it to you right now because we have it up. The exact same spin wheel from last year, only different rewards.
Terrified about this.
So the good one, good for you, is gift 5 subs. That has been added to the Wheel of Death. The one I'm not too fond of is watch a Michigan State play against Michigan.
I think we know which one's going to be queued up after this week.
There's probably several from Saturday you could use. I will chug a beer finally, because chat seems to always want me to chug a beer during the Madden Sims. So if it falls on that, I'll chug a beer. And then the last one I don't like, and if someone has a better idea, that would be the first I would replace. It's Bite an Onion. I really don't want to do that one. Which maybe makes it the best one of all, I guess. But
yeah, no, that's the point.
Yeah,
so that's the point of a Wheel of Death.
I don't know why Eat a Butterfingers is not on there.
No, we should have that on there. Someone tried to give him a Butterfinger for Halloween and it did not work. Matt Burns, we have seen your list cast. We will redeem it here soon, but obviously we are still working our way down through everything that's been demanded of us.
I have my list of 5 guys because I think 10 is a lot.
10's a lot. Yeah, I think when you redeem a list cast on there, you're going to sometimes get 5. We'll do 10 if we're being generous, but it's 5 right now. So what do you got as 5? 5 guys you would bring to the Lions besides the burgers and fries.
Right. I don't have these guys in any order, but I double checked. They're actually all free agents. So I guess that works out really nicely. But in no particular order, Allen Robinson is always a name that comes around when you're talking about wide receivers and upgrading them. And I feel like it's kind of strange because everybody was anticipating some big explosion from Allen Robinson this year because of Justin Fields, and like it's not happening. So
Nope.
But I don't think that's an Allen Robinson problem. I think Allen Robinson's quite a good.
I think that's a Justin Fields problem.
I feel like it's a Matt Nagy problem.
I think it's a Justin Fields problem. I am ready to start burying this guy because I'm tired of hearing Lions fans talk about how they wish they had taken Justin Fields.
Yeah, that's annoying.
There's some of it you can blame on Matt Nagy. Some of that you can blame on the offensive line being booty, but like Justin Fields still is not like fantastic out there.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. There's a theme to my list. The other name, Devonte Adams. Why not? I mean, maybe the best wide receiver in the NFL. Obviously, like
just give all the wide receivers.
I pretty much my other guy was Chris Godwin. So I mean, like any of those guys would immediately be wide receiver number one, target number one.
And
like
to me, like watching a little bit of that Dallas game last night, it was just like that's proof to me that wide receivers matter more than maybe I thought.
So much
because like listen,
so
like
much.
Cooper Rush, he sucks. I'm sorry, like there's nothing there. But those receivers made him look good because, and I think Chris Collinsworth talked about it. Like these Cowboys receivers are averaging like 5 yards of separation.
Yeah,
which I mean, if you added up all the yards of separation of a Lions play, if they go 7 wide, which isn't even legal, if you add up the yards of separation for all those 7 guys, it's not gonna. It's gonna be like 3.5.
Which makes this hurt for me, and I'm about to sneak in both USC and draft talk here to ruin Jeremy's day.
Perfect.
That's why, like, I got asked about this in the post-game stream, but Drake London for USC is done for the year on an ankle injury, and he was ready about to win the Biletnikoff Award, and I still want to draft him. Like I was looking at wide receivers for this draft and but Drake London was one of the top ones there for me. And that ankle injury just hurts a lot. Like, I mean, with that in mind, maybe Chris Olave is on that board too. But yeah, like I'm totally, since like, again, not to do too much in the draft, but you want to take a look at that Rams pick later in the round. That's a good time to maybe think about some receiver power because this team needs some right now.
Yeah. My other name, 4th on my list, was Marcus Williams, the safety from New Orleans. Like one of the top safeties in the NFL. I think he's like 12th in PFF grade, but primarily a free safety. And the Lions are definitely, I mean, not that any of the players right now, I think in that secondary on that back end at the safety position have like earned their way onto a spot on the roster next year. But they're gonna. I mean, Tracy Walker's a free agent. So, I mean, they need to have a free safety, and Marcus Williams can do that, and he's pretty damn good, too.
I mean, I think yesterday was another prime example of them needing an additional, like, even if they decide to re-sign Tracy Walker, which I think they should, like, they need someone to put next to him. Like,
I know, they need a guy next to him.
They said, Will Harris, you know what, safety's not working out for you, play nickel corner this game, and that went about as well as you imagine it would. And so instead they bring back what's his name that I can't think of right now, and a guy that was a healthy scratch like 2 weeks ago. Now, hey, you're the starting safety opposite Tracy Walker. It's tough.
Oh, Jalen Elliott?
No. Jalen Elliott's Dean Marlowe. Thank you.
Oh, Dean Marlowe. Yeah.
Yeah. Jalen Elliott did get a lot of time, but I don't know. Snap counts were kind of hard to decipher this week because when you're down by that much, it's hard to tell how many were like, we need you to come in and fix this, or we need you to come in here because we don't want our defense of starters injured.
Yeah.
Let me catch up on some things because there's donation related things in the chat happening. Obviously, Kuzno, I see you also redeemed writing something on my face. You can pick whatever you want right now. I know ideally you put it in your chat message, your donation message, but you can also just throw it in the chat. I saw someone, I don't remember if it was CJ or Indigo, ask if I was comfortable putting a thick mustache on my upper lip. The way you worded it made it sound like a Hitler stash. I'm not comfortable with that. If that's what you were asking, if you want me to
various reasons,
if you want me to just draw a mustache on my upper lip, I will do that. No, not that. Okay, good.
No, he was probably thinking more Charlie Chaplin.
That's kind of the same.
Yeah. No, that's a. By the way, since I did drop a note about it during the post game stream, and since someone is giving me props right now on Twitter for because it saved their weekend, I will do it again. New Limp Bizkit album is out.
I haven't listened to it yet.
It's very good. I've listened to it. I love it. There's good stuff on there. That first track, I forget the name of it right out. It's all like turn up bitch and shut the fuck up bitch. Like stuff like that. So the album is called Still Sucks. And but the album cover looks like it was done in the 90s.
Well, but
out of style. That was Out of Style is like really good.
I was gonna say the way that the cover looks, it makes it seem like it says Limp Bizkit still sucks.
Well, actually, that's one of my favorite things. I think it's Love the Hate, and it's literally like him doing a sketch bit of two guys just talking about how much they hate Limp Bizkit.
I don't think people are talking about how much they hate Limp Bizkit in 2021.
No one
Did
is
you not
talking
see the
about them at
Woodstock?
all.
But did you not see the Woodstock '99 documentary? Because they tried to make Fred Durst the absolute villain. So I think there are people who still hate Limp Bizkit.
Hate something else. Like if you hate Fred Durst, if you hate Limp Bizkit, you need to be.
This is too big. Sorry, I don't mean to be distracting. I have to
it's
write
fine.
MP
This is totally fine.
Lightning AB, and I think this is
Matt Patricia's ample bosom.
I mean, I didn't say it. By the way, we just got a $200 donation.
Ooh.
From Kaylin Melody, which means I know exactly who that is. Thank you. Would like to request Jeremy sing the fight song. They
also get to pick an ingredient in my mixed drink now.
If they want to. I don't know if they redeem that incentive technically. Let me refresh. So they didn't technically redeem it, so it's not going to take it off the. You can do that. And considering who you are, even though this was not part of the incentives, I will do it anyways because a $200 donation is serious. But
what are you writing in? Is that Sharpie?
Yep, it's a bad idea. I know.
Jeremy.
Oh God.
Wash out.
P. Oh God.
Yeah. You got the P.
Oh. Now do the Harry Potter thing.
I'm about to say this whole thing is very Harry Potter. I would not try to fill it in. Just leave it like that. There, that's the bolt. That's a bolt. Do not try to do a second angle to it.
Oh, an A is going to be tough.
The A.
That's the wrong way. Hold on.
Yeah. What are you? Oh my God.
No, it's this.
Oh my God. Now the symbol looks very unfortunate.
And then down and why is this so hard for me? A.
Now B. Now try to do it the right way, unlike that one girl.
All right. Nope. Just practicing
down
marks.
Straight,
okay.
Down straight.
Down.
Okay. Now. There we go.
Hey, that's not bad. There you go.
The lightning bolt's bad.
No, it's not bad. It's terrible, Jeremy.
You try and do that, all right?
You did. I'm good. I can't believe you used Sharpie. I thought you got some kind of special.
Nope, this is really stupid. I'm an idiot. It's fine. Listen, there's no more. Oh no, we have the interview tomorrow. Shit. Well, let's hope this washes. I'm just gonna be in the shower all night.
Quickly Google's how to remove Sharpie from face.
Chris, mix some salad dressing and drink them. I mean, which salad dressing? There's a lot of salad dressing we can do with that. Oh God.
Oh, I need to sing. By the way, Nick the Greek with $200 200 bits, saying exactly what you expect. He said, rubbing alcohol. Demote me for not being able to write backwards on my face? How dare you?
I think I'm with him there.
Cover the writing with dry erase marker and it will come off. Is that a real thing? I don't think I have a dry erase marker. How do I go out to the store and buy dry erase marker right now? This needs to be gone by 2 p.m. tomorrow somehow.
The thought of you walking into a Staples and just putting one dry erase marker up on the counter with that on your forehead.
Might just want to wear a hat.
Just a hat down to my eyebrows.
Yeah, that's what I used to do when I was a kid.
Rubbing alcohol. All right. I don't know if I have that either, but I'll find it. All right. Let me sing the fight song.
Yeah, you do that. I gotta go find my phone. I just realized I've misplaced this thing.
There's like 3 things I want to tackle for scraps, but I don't know if we're gonna get to them. You know one of them, Ryan.
Oh gosh.
All right. Here we go. Forward down the field, a charging team that will not yield, and win the blue and silver wave. Stand and cheer the brave. Rah, rah, rah. Go hard, win the game. With honor you will keep your fame. Down the field and gain a Lions victory. Go Lions!
Did they play that after Jamar Jefferson's
Yes,
touchdown?
they did, and I was just about to bring that up. A 44-6 version of Gridiron Heroes might be the saddest thing I've ever heard. But credit where it's due. Theo, who's the guy who sings it, gave it his fucking all, and I think maybe he was just like, "What am I doing here?" the entire game.
It's like I could have taken today off.
But shout out to Theo, good dude. I think he plays live music every now and then, like in Plymouth. I almost stopped by just to be like, "Hey, I know you. You might know me too. That's pretty cool."
Hey, Chris, does Jeremy sound a little bit more quiet?
Yeah, he's really quiet.
Uh-oh. Am I quiet to you
Yeah,
guys, chat?
No, you're just moving away from it, I think.
I didn't want to yell into the mic during Gridiron Heroes.
I just want to real quickly say my 5th name for the list cast.
Oh, shit, we didn't even get the 5th name. Go ahead.
Yeah. Malik Willis.
Yeah.
All right.
Commit to the bit.
I appreciate it. And I mean, it's not even a bit at this point because holy God, I don't know if I want to see more of. Oh my God.
Yeah. Should we get to that? Should we talk
one
offense?
second, 1 second. I'm handling something here real quick. Yeah.
So just so we're clear, there are also 2 more incentive right on my face things in the hopper. Have I missed the actual?
Geez, like all of them are like to like annihilate you.
See Indigo's previous post. I need to clean it off. Don't let it set too long. Really? Is it that? Should I just use this pen from now on? This like, am I really that much in trouble? How much in trouble am I, chat, if I let this go the entire stream?
Dude, you're in trouble.
Clean it now? Are you okay if I clean it now? Are we okay?
Isn't that up to Nick the Greek?
It was Indigo. Okay.
Oh,
all right.
All right.
I'll do my best right now. I don't have. I have is like. I'll try.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone is panicking.
Anyway.
Any interest in watching tonight's football game, Chris? Kansas City Chiefs versus New York Giants?
Well, I've won my fantasy matchup, so no. By the way, probably the biggest kick in the nuts from this game is that I had Kenneth Gainwell that I picked up this week from waiver wires for the Eagles, and they just decided to run Boston Scott down our throats the entire day.
Yeah, that sounds way dirtier than it should, but
yeah. Kenneth Gainwell's first action in this game, I think, was the flea flicker, which I need to bring up with Jeremy once he's back.
Yeah, talk about a kick to the gut. The first time your guy touches the football, he throws it back.
And then they just use him to basically burn out the clock at the end. Yeah. Oh man, I don't want to talk about this game much longer at this point.
I started Jamar Jefferson. As soon as I saw Jamal Williams was out, I picked him up in one of my leagues, and I was like, why not?
Well, that one worked out for you.
That one did work out.
What a good story for Jamar Jeff. He filches the touchdown for you. Otherwise, Like, that's probably not going the way you want that day. But yeah.
Yeah. Izzy82 says someone needs to get Jeremy body paint so that he can write on himself. Yep.
I'm trying to think what else, because again, like I basically I hate when I have to work as much, because like I didn't get to see anything else but the Lions game yesterday. Like, I had to go right back to sleep as soon as we were done. So
yeah, that sucks.
And I'm waking up like right away. So I'm not trying to bitch too much, but it's just like, God, my head's just not into the football right now.
Jeremy, it came off.
Soap and water.
Yeah.
Y'all overreacting. Look, y'all overreacting. I could have kept it on the entire show.
I think he had like a fake stretch of skin, like skin
real Sharpie.
skin colored tape on there. He just ripped it off.
I think that might have been like all of our like mothers, how they manifested into us, like never write on Sharpie, like never write Sharpie on yourself because it'll never come off.
Sharpie is real, the inside is fake. You guys had me legit concerned that I was gonna just have Matt Patricia's ample bosoms on my forehead while I'm interviewing a Lions player tomorrow.
Pause.
Jesus Christ.
You realize what you just said?
I do now. Do we want to tackle any of the topics that I want to talk about in scraps now, or do we want to jump into it and save it for the final?
You have topics saved for scraps? That's a violation.
I do. I don't care.
Well, we are almost at 50 minutes, and I did want to real quick before let's do it for the next segment, because I also want to talk about the new god rising from the ashes of Central Michigan for the Cowboys. Maybe we sign him in the offseason. I don't know.
I'm no Cooper Rush fan.
All right, we should get back into it then.
What are you doing, bud?
If I seem irked, it's because I have a canker on my jawline. So, Mike White 2022. Ugh. It's a bad take. I know. I always have bad takes. No, you can't fool us again, Baltimore. Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit POD-cast. As once again impressing, Movember is on. Our donations are going strong. We took some time off here, and we've already raised on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit $700. And you're hearing this on a recording, so that's probably way up from there. Where do I want to go on this game next? We gave our overall thoughts, and now just trying to dig deep into this feels like just a lesson in futility. But should we just rip the Band-Aid off and go straight to Jared Goff in the offense?
Sure. Why not?
Jared Goff is probably going to play again after the bye week. If I am wrong, it will be the most wrong I have been. I will totally be expecting to be wrong. But at this point, I think the Lions are just going to sweat out Jared Goff. And that's going to suck, because this game went on way too long. And people kept demanding all day long to not see Jared Goff, to see David Blau. They want to see David Blau. David Blau finally goes in one of the final drives of the game and nearly fumbles the ball twice. So there's
what's his hand size?
What's his hand? I don't know, man. I don't keep track of that. Jared Goff, though, once again, a very weird stat line for this game that probably belies the fact this was not good at all again, but you knew that already. You knew there'd be a fourth down throwaway already, although he says that he threw the ball high, that he wasn't throwing it away, but he threw it high. I don't believe that. I don't believe that after watching the tape. We don't believe you. You need more people. And the sacks were, again, Matt Nelson got just destroyed in this game, like, by Josh Sweat. But you take 5 sacks, 45 yards. I don't know what else I can say. It feels like broken record time on Jared Goff. We all know he sucks. We all know it's bad. And there's not much else you can really do at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like this is a game where you can really get that mad at Jared Goff because just nothing was working. The defense wasn't working. The run game wasn't working. The wide receivers weren't working. The offensive line wasn't working. So I don't know, like, he's every week in, week out, he's going to get the negative attention when they lose and the offense scores 6 points. But yeah, I mean, I actually do believe when he says he just messed up the throw, but I don't think that makes the situation any better because that ball was nowhere near where anyone could catch it on fourth down. But I think the part of his game that just continues to irk me the most is his pocket presence. And it was a little bit better in the Rams game. And it's the reason why I thought the Rams game was probably his best game of the season. But it seemed to fall back again where he just he sees pressure and then he thinks he turns into Deshaun Watson or turns into Lamar Jackson. Let me use a more appropriate comparison these days where he does that spin move where he tries to throw a shoulder and run all the way back and it never works. And he takes at least 2 sacks a game where he has no business taking. And sometimes the pressure is coming right in his face and it feels like he doesn't see it for whatever reason. Just got to get the ball out. I think that was his biggest issue in this game. There weren't any outside of the fourth down play. There wasn't a lot of dreadful passes. There didn't throw an interception. I don't think he didn't fumble the ball.
It was still a lot of passes just behind the sticks at the end of the day where you needed more yards. But again, part of that's just the routes that are being run too.
Well, and it's the receiving core, right? This team is just they don't have anyone. Amon-Ra finally had a good game again, and it seemed like him and Goff had a thing going, and he would have had over about 80 yards if that one hadn't been called back because Deandre Swift was lined up wrong. But they brought back Trinity Benson this week. He didn't even see a target. Kadarius Hodge.
Raymond is a 0 on the stat sheet.
Literally every wide receiver that wasn't Amon-Ra St. Brown did not catch a ball. 0 catches. And I don't know how much blame you can put on Goff sometimes when they're just rotating through these guys. They tried Geronimo Allison for a couple weeks. That didn't work. Ever since, and the one guy that it seemed like maybe he was finally getting, a rapport with was Quintus Cephas. Now that he's injured, there's nobody. They're just desperately trying to find a number 1, a number 2, a number 3, a number 4 receiver. The only thing that's working right now is TJ Hockenson. And as Dan Campbell said, teams know that too. Defenses know that too. I'll give Hockenson credit that he had a pretty efficient day considering everyone knew he was getting the ball 10 times in this game. But they need someone else to step up, and no one is stepping up. There were some opportunities there too, right? Benson had a really bad drop in this. Or no, was it? No, it was Hodge. Hodge had a really bad drop in this game.
Hodge did, yeah.
And I don't know. Goff isn't giving them a ton of chances, but I think it's a symbiotic relationship here, although it's whatever the opposite of symbiotic is, where both sides are making each other worse.
Parasitic. It's parasitic.
There you go. It's a parasitic relationship where they're both parasites on each other, where the wide receivers are making Goff worse and Goff is making the wide receivers worse.
And the O-line's part of that too, because it is bad. Matt Nelson immediately gives up to Sweat, but at the same time, it's also bad when Jared Goff's only move when he sees pressure coming is to start rolling backwards.
Yeah.
That's his only reaction when pressure comes. But at the same time, you don't really have time to even think about what you're going to do with the ball when your right tackle's barreled over and someone's coming right at your throat.
Yeah. I saw this mentioned multiple times on Twitter by, I think it was Kyle Meinke. But are any of you watching this and thinking, yeah, the Lions should definitely see what they can get for Taylor Decker?
That should have died weeks ago, but definitely you roll the dice on trying to decide who converts to right tackle between Decker or Sewell. You don't get rid of him.
And dude, I don't care. Guess what, Penei Sewell? Life in the NFL is hard. I hate to break it to you, but sometimes you're going to have to do some things that aren't in maybe your own personal best interest for the team. And you're the rookie, dude. At this point, if Taylor Decker can come back, you gotta move him back over to the right side. But the thing, Matt Nelson has given up 34 pressures in 8 games. 34 pressures. There have been 3 games where he's given up at least 6. And I mean, it's really, really bad. Surprisingly, he's only given up 3 sacks. But I mean, the pressures are where it's at. And the pressures lead to what you guys are talking about. And it's the most frustrating thing for Jared Goff for me as well. The way he bails out of the pocket. Like it's not part of his skill set. Like he doesn't have the mobility to be able to do that. And Jeremy, I want to be in the same place as you where I go, I mean, there's literally no wide receivers that are doing anything to help out Jared Goff. But I just have a feeling like even when things might be going better with the offensive line or things might be going better with the receivers, like we still don't see like the arm strength out of Jared Goff. We still don't see, we don't see
plays, shot play, no attempt at a shot play, and a shot play we can just define as a 15-yard pass downfield. Like we're not even getting that these days.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I mentioned that when David Blau came in, I was like, all he has to do is throw the ball 2 times 30 yards down the field and he will win everybody over. Doesn't even have to be close to a receiver.
Nope,
he can just
right.
throw it 30 yards down the field. And instead he
got the arm strength. Yeah.
Yeah. And instead he comes in and he like almost fumbles the ball once and then legitimately fumbles the ball once.
The second time.
Yeah. But yeah. So the thing with the Jared Goff criticism real quick is that I feel like it's very warranted. Like,
sure,
we're going to be having our bye-week superlatives and there's a reason why he made my list. I think he deserved it.
And here's the thing, like Dan Campbell said in this game, and he actually defended Jared Goff quite a bit in his post-game press conference.
Were you surprised by that?
A little bit, but not completely, because I do think it was an utter disaster everywhere, and I don't think anyone on that field helped him.
A sea of trash.
The sea of trash is such a perfect phrase from Dan Campbell.
There was a lot of idioms coming out of that sea of trash, bad news bears.
But
he did a third one in there. But anyway, go on.
But the crazy thing is, Campbell said the game plan in this game was to test them downfield, was to go at it, was to be aggressive. And
really, like, are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, the very first play, they get what 25 yards to TJ Hawkinson down the seam. That's the end of being aggressive. Like he spent all his aggressive points on the very first play of the game. But I mean, there's some legitimacy to what he said. Like, in order to throw the ball downfield, you need an offensive line that doesn't give up 12 quarterback hits in a game. You need receivers who, when they pull double moves, because he said that too, like they tried some double moves a couple times in this game and guys weren't getting open. So, I mean, they tried to get the defense to jump off sides so they could take a free shot downfield. That didn't work either. Everything that, like, and this goes back to, like, this is kind of why the strategy has been how it's been, is because the Lions just don't have the personnel to be a downfield passing team. So they're like, okay, what do we have the personnel to do? Run the ball. Great. Let's do that. Let's have that be our identity. That way we hide our crappy defense, right? Like, it worked last week against the Rams. Like, Matthew Stafford barely had the ball in that game, and of course when he did, he still lit him up and whatever, but they were in a position to win that game because they could run the ball well and kind of slow Matthew Stafford down where he's not picking up 80 yards every play. That's who this team has to be to win, and they showed on Sunday why they can't be the other team. They just don't have the personnel.
Yeah. Real quick, just to put a bow on the offense, well, 2 things. One, I feel like we need to talk about the run game. Yes. But again, like the Lions get away from the run game all the time. So it feels like harping on that is going to be hard. Although this game was kind of the collapse of the stock of Deandre Swift. I didn't realize I didn't
takes on Deandre
Swift. I didn't realize Jamal Williams was the linchpin to make this run offense work completely, because Swift trying to go up the middle doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't. And like Deandre Swift is swiftly devolving into another version of Theo Riddick, and that I don't trust him when he's being asked to carry the rock on the ground, but he does okay when you're passing to him, when you're dumping off to him in the case of Jared Goff. But I don't like Godwin Igwebuike came into this game, had three carries, averaged 6 yards. Deandre Swift had to do 12, averaged 2.3 with a long of 7.
I'm not willing to get as spicy as you, and to say that Deandre Swift is devolving into Theo Riddick quite yet.
Well, I also value Theo Riddick probably more than you guys do at this point. I'm just saying, like, archetypally, like a Jungian thing.
Yeah, the fundamental difference I think I see between the two of them is Swift can't really do much up the middle because I don't think he has the body type to do it, and he doesn't necessarily have the kind of ability to break tackles like in really short space like that. And I think Theo Riddick just had an inability of like running the football. Like he got like happy feet every time he got to the line of scrimmage. I don't see that with Swift so much, but I will say like Swift's abilities are getting the ball in outside zone. And you look at the run blocking grade for both your tackles in this game, Penei Sewell and Matt Nelson were the worst run blockers along the offensive line. Like I think that's where Deandre Swift can eat is when he's bouncing things outside. If he can't do that, unless he's getting lanes that are just being blown wide open in the middle, he doesn't have that wiggle to me. So I agree with Chris though in this sense. He's much more valuable as a pass catcher than a runner.
There's no question about that to me. But I have more of a problem with DeAndre Swift's game than I think the normal person does. I'm more towards Chris on this one because, just look at the numbers, man. Like 4.4 yards per carry for Jamal Williams this year, 3.2 for DeAndre Swift, 3.2.
And Swift's supposed to be your main back. Jamal Williams was the change it down that you brought in.
And even if we knew Jamal Williams was going to be super efficient, though, right?
Sure, yeah, but I think he fits this offense better. I do, because this team wants to be the ground and pound guy that'll just physically, own you up the middle, and that's Jamal Williams. And here's the thing, like DeAndre Swift, if he's going to be your lightning to Jamal Williams' thunder, he has to show some lightning, for God's sakes. His longest run on the season is what? Is 16 yards? That's not lightning. That's hardly a light scatter of rain. Like
it's a plasma ball. It's a plasma ball.
I don't like you're right that in this specific game the outside game wasn't working, but the problem is they were trying to run him up the middle, and I did see a little bit of that, like juking and shuffling when there was a hole there. Just run through it, man. You're fast. And if you're like, that's the thing. Like a lot of these speedy backs that are shifty, if you hit a hole right away, you can split those safeties and break it big. But Swift isn't that guy. And listen, it's not working with him.
Do you think any of it, real quick? Do you think any of it has to do with that groin that has just been like lingering?
Not according to him. He says it's not bothering him at all.
Well, this kind of we've mentioned a lot about how he seems to be a schematic like mismatch for what the Lions want to do. Obviously, that he's a guy who wants to go zone outside, but this is a team that wants to just run it up the middle. And it started to become a question here about, is there something wrong probably with the Lions offensive scheme overall that you guys think at this point between Jared Goff, like all these passes that don't go down the field that are like routes for catches behind the sticks, be it how the ground game is being established, or just even something as much as we seem to be rotating wide receivers nonstop rather than letting someone build a rapport with Jared Goff. Is there an issue with the scheme or the or I don't want to say on Anthony Lynn, but like whatever is being implemented right now, clearly, I don't know if it's working.
To me, it feels like Anthony Lynn has run out of tricks in his bag. I remember the first few weeks of the season, we saw some really interesting plays, some really interesting designs, and they worked a lot. Like they weren't scoring a ton of points still, but they were moving the ball pretty consistently. We're not seeing that anymore, and I think it's just people have wised up. The Lions tried a bunch of like misdirection plays in this game, like a tight end screen, a running back screen, like a couple misdirection things, and the Eagles were all over it. And that's just what happens when you literally have two weapons. You have TJ Hawkinson, you have DeAndre Swift. You take care of those guys, who's going to beat you? Nobody. And so, like, I mean, Anthony Lynn is dealing with the barest of cupboards possible here. And listen, something needs to improve. And part of that is absolutely on Anthony Lynn. He's going to have to dig real, real deep to find something. But his job is one of the toughest out there.
Sure. I just think the rotating,
has a lot of tough jobs.
I just think the rotating receivers is the big thing. Like, I know you're trying to see what you have in a pile of nothing, but I think at some point you just need to have one guy out there who builds that rapport. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's getting close in that regard, but he's still a rookie.
Yep.
But like, I just don't understand why Khalif Raymond wasn't more of the plan at this point. But whatever.
I think, Chris, if you're going to develop a rapport with Jared Goff, you better be ready to catch bubble screens.
That's true.
Khalif Raymond, baby.
Khalif Raymond. I mean, look, Amon-Ra is like, I'm shocked. I went back and looked how many targets Amon-Ra St. Brown got, and it's more than I thought, given how little he seems to show up in the stat line. Like, I didn't realize, like, I know he was blanked in the Rams game, but like in that Cincinnati game, I didn't realize he was targeted 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
I had completely forgotten about that. 8 times against Chicago, 8 times against Minnesota. It's clear they want to use him. I think they just need to start using him earlier in the game.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the defense then.
We want to take a break first and maybe gather our thoughts after
No,
that?
I don't. I want to cram all this in because I feel like the last segment I want to talk about, what comes next, especially as we're staring down the gullet of a bye week. And unless you have a lot to talk about on the defense.
No,
I
feel like I kind of shot my shot my load. Forget it. I said shot my load.
Christ.
I was gonna. I mean, what else is there to say other than the run defense sucked? I mean, you can't really say much about the secondary. They threw the ball like 15 times in this game. The defensive line.
2 of those from 14 times, because 2 of them from Gardner Minshew. I'm not giving that to the Eagles.
I mean, it was just a really disappointment from the defensive line, period. Like, the edge guys weren't playing well in the run game. They weren't providing any sort of pass rush. I don't think the Lions had a quarterback hit in this game.
This was you remember how I said a few weeks ago, like, hey, we kind of bottled up these run heavy quarterbacks, and that's an improvement over the history of the Detroit Lions. That wasn't true. Nope. Jalen Hurts 71 yards on the ground in this game. That was the most damning part to me.
There was a play that stands out to me where, remember, the Eagles were backed up in their own territory and it was 3rd and 12.
It was the first drive of the second half.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts just scampers for like a 17 or something yard gain for a first down on 3rd and 12.
It felt like kind of I don't want to say turning point because they were already up 17-0 in that game, but like that was a moment in which the Lions could, potentially get back in it. Like, you got them backed up in their own end zone, 3rd and 12. You get that back. Maybe you get good field position. You score a touchdown. It's a 17-7 game. Instead, you give up that huge play, and they eventually score a touchdown on that drive, and boom, it's 24-0.
Yeah, and for me, like, the one that obviously killed me was, and there was a lot of, I'm trying to find how many missed tackles were in this game, but once again, like, I kept seeing guys. What?
Chris, to that point, like, I think that this game was so eerily reminiscent of some of those Millen era defenses where it looked like the Lions were incapable of tackling anybody. And
there's like a force field around Jalen Hurts.
There was something that Dan Miller said when he was on the call that I think Jim Costa, he tweeted out, but he was like, Dan Miller essentially was like, the Lions need to tackle them and they're just not doing it.
Like, they're falling down like a yard behind Boston Scott, just trying to get after him. But the drive that killed me was when you had the Eagles in their own end zone and they capped that on that was a scoring drive. It turns into a scoring drive that you let them sit on the field from their own end zone, miss tackle after miss tackle, and they get all the way down the field. And penalties are killing the hell out of this team too.
Right. And that goes back to coaching, right? Like,
two
and that's why they got too many men on the field, which again, that's out coaching. Like, the Eagles saw something that the Lions were doing and hurried to the line. I mean, they pulled an Aaron Rodgers.
We killed Caldwell for that all the time.
Jalen Hurts is not Aaron Rodgers. You can't let Jalen Hurts do that to you. And then the illegal formation on Deandre Swift. Erased a 35-yard play to Amon-Ra. Like, that is, as Dan Campbell put it, that is day one stuff. That is stuff that you need to have down after the first week of training camp. Unacceptable.
On the broadcast, real quick, this was, did you hear about Dan Campbell's comment where he's like, I feel like I'm like teaching football 101 instead of football 401. Like, where he's like, I feel like I'm stuck teaching this like rudimentary level stuff, and we should be way past where we are. So I thought that comment was particularly interesting just in the sense of like, is that like a self-reflection of you in terms of the curve that you're on with this personnel that you have? Because I mean, you have so many undrafted free agents.
Right.
You have so many young guys that are like, we have to get you up to speed on like some super technical stuff, but we have to be teaching this lower level stuff. And maybe we're not doing a good enough job. Hopefully the bye week is the elixir though, right, Jeremy?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a comment just towards the youth of the team, right? Like, I don't think he's trying to insult these guys' intelligence or anything.
Oh,
it's just
no.
When you're dealing with a team full of rookies, like that's the reality of the situation.
I'm wondering out loud if that's like a challenge that he views like himself, where he's like, I need to get us there, but I'm stuck doing this.
Yeah. I think that's accurate, and it's just kind of an unfortunate situation of where the roster is, and hopefully, I mean, this is the one thing that we all wanted to see this year was improvement in the second half of the season, right? That's pretty much it. It's like we need to see clear progression, and at times we have seen progression from some of these guys, but then we've had a handful, 2 maybe 3 of these setback
we were
games.
just praising. We were just praising Deandre Swift last week for his yards from scrimmage.
Sure.
And now we're here like looking at him, and I just don't know what we've really got with him. And again, the killer thing for me on the defense is, once again, I look at the time of possession, and 35 minutes for the Eagles.
That's what happens when you run the ball 46 times.
Like you want to be the ground and pound team. You have to own time of possession.
Yeah.
Like that's you want to be the win from the trenches. That's the whole point of winning through the trenches is you keep the ball away from the opposing quarterback. Guess what? The Eagles did that to you.
The one last thing I want to say about this game before we take it to the next segment is, in our preview podcast, Jeremy, there was no talk at all from Brandon about anything like, the Eagles are going to run the football. Like, they're really going to run the football. We spent more time talking about Devonte Smith and Quez Watkins and Dallas Goedert and why Jalen Hurts isn't very effective. And then Boston Scott, we didn't even mention Boston Scott's name once on the podcast.
Yeah, by the way, if you were one of those people who jumped in fantasy for Kenneth Gainwell on the waiver wire, I'm sorry. His first touch of the ball, that was insult to injury to go to Boston Scott too from the Eagles, because Kenneth Gainwell was like the popular pickup. His first time he touched the ball was on Jeremy's favorite play. He threw it back to Jalen Hurts on a flea flicker. And it worked. It worked on the Lions.
It didn't really.
It barely worked, but it worked. It worked, Jeremy. The result matters.
But somebody have Jeremy write flea flicker on his head.
No.
But Boston Scott. Yeah,
I go back. I go back to that conversation we had with Brandon. I feel like at some point I was like, is there any chance like the Eagles take this full week of criticism of everyone saying like they're not doing this, they're not doing that, to like finally pull out the stops and do all of that sort of stuff? And Brandon's like, no, they're not going to do that. They did it. They did it.
Emphatically.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to get this all out of the way so we didn't have to worry about that in the next segment. Because it's depressing and distressing in equal amounts. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to look at what future comes ahead as the Lions head into the bye week, where I would say the Lions can't hurt you right now, but I know that I can't guarantee that at all. I really can't. We'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. I promised I would get the flea flicker in just for Jeremy, so I had to fit that in there.
I had almost forgotten about it.
That's how what a morass of the defense was for you. That the play that enrages you the most barely registers.
I was checked out for almost the entire second half of that game. I literally published our game recap after the third quarter.
No, I saw that on the third quarter. Yeah, yeah.
Like, why?
Ooh, new donation.
Oh my God, CJ Craig with the $250 donation. Whew.
Oh God, man.
CJ, thank you so much, man. Can we get more fuck cancers in the chat for him, please? And I think
I think he gets everything from those lower tiers as well too.
So technically, okay, so you asked, do donations accumulate? I'm not entirely sure what you mean, like in terms of redeeming one of those rewards. Technically each one is supposed to be individual, but like if you hit one of those high rewards with everything you donate, you can have one of the high rewards. I'm not gonna withhold that from you. I see you redeemed schedule an Amazon watch party, which I'm curious about. I wasn't sure if anyone was actually going to be interested in that one.
I'm curious what he picks.
Yeah, so in case you aren't aware of what exactly that is, Twitch allows you to stream Amazon Prime shows, movies, whatever, live. In order to watch them, you also have to have an Amazon Prime account. So by donating $250, we'll do a stream of his choosing of whatever TV show or movie he wants. Sometime it'll probably be in the off season. But it has to be. The thing is, it has to be on Amazon Prime's catalog. It has to be like I can't. It can't be one of those. It can't be like where I rent it for $5. It has to literally be an Amazon Prime show or movie.
It has to be. Yeah, it has to be free on Prime. Uncle Indigo asks, Ryan, are you ready to carry the stream if I mute Chris and Jeremy?
Am I gonna carry it?
See, I'm surprised no one has used that one yet. That's the one I'm waiting for. Is just like in the middle of someone talking, just boom.
Yeah, in the middle. That can work in the middle of PODcast, by the way.
Yeah,
and I will try my hardest to honor it in the recording.
And I will try my hardest to recognize it, because is that the $80 donation?
It is. Yeah.
I'm looking at the Prime videos right now, and there's some ones that would definitely be really fun to watch as a group.
Yeah.
They got Young Frankenstein on here.
Nice.
I know it's past Halloween, but Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Never seen it.
God, I did not follow my tradition this year because I had to work. I watch Rocky Horror Picture Show every Halloween. I didn't do it this year.
Yeah, Rocky Horror Pictures classic. And Jeremy, you've never seen it?
I've never seen it. And LA, like every Saturday at midnight, there's a theater that plays it. I think like literally every Saturday night, and apparently it's like a really fun. Like everyone goes and
dresses up and
throw shit at the screen or something, like all sorts of weird stuff. I need to see it. Like I know Tim Curry. Yeah. Tim Curry's amazing in everything. So
Time Warp is one of the best songs ever written.
Alien is on here, Chris.
I know. I have Prime. I know there's some good, like there's a lot of good shows on there. Like Aliens on there.
The Thing.
I know you don't care. It's because it's anime, but I know Vinland Saga's on there. What else is on there that I'm like save a bunch of shit on my watch list.
First stream, and we're already $50 away from $1,000. Yeah. In not even 90 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say not even 2 hours.
You guys are amazing. Thank you again for everything already. It's crazy. That's why we do it. Do we want to get to either of my topics here?
Yeah, sure. We got time.
Do we want to go Woodward or do we want to go college football?
I want to talk about the Woodward thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Woodward thing. Can we do?
I didn't realize we're taking a baseball bat to our competitors at this point, but you know what? I think Ryan threw that first firecracker publicly. So I mean.
Did I? Because even if you light a firecracker and throw it into the woods and you expect nothing to happen, like what were you expecting to happen? So when you say some really reckless shit about a human being, not, and no pun intended, because I mean, what a stupid analogy that he decided to go with, like, oh, take all the manure and put it on Jeff Okuda because he's the biggest bust of the past however many years, he said. The guy ruptured his Achilles. After spending the entire training camp, after spending the entire offseason rehabbing from core surgery to get himself right so that he could get on the field for his second season. And he has one of the most devastating fluke freak injuries that happens to him. And I'm not even so upset that he called him a bust, whatever, because people are dumb when they throw around that tag. I mean, it means nothing because it's not quantifiable. Like you can't there's no good measure for saying what's a bust and what isn't a bust. But the thing that upset me the most is just acting like Jeff Okuda isn't even a human, dude.
Yeah.
Like just pretending like he's on a football, like he's on earth to play football, and all of his worth and value is derived from playing the cornerback position, which is clearly why he values him as a bust, because he's like, oh, he's the 3rd overall pick. And can we rewind? Jeff Okudah was the consensus number 3 player in the draft. This wasn't a player that the Lions reached on because they needed to fill a need or anything. Like, Jeff Okudah was the consensus guy. And his biggest, dumbest part of his argument is when he wants to slide in and say, the Lions didn't take advantage of, gaining any quarterback interest in the draft for teams to move ahead of them because they signed Chase Daniel in the offseason. Chase Daniel was how the Lions showed their hand to everybody. Like, we got this backup quarterback, Chase Daniel. Got no room for Tua Tagovailoa. Got no room for Justin Herbert. Got no room for any of these rookie quarterbacks if we sign Chase Daniel. What an idiot.
It's really bad. It's and I'm with you, like, the take that Jeff Okudah is a bust. Sure, throw that out. Like, I've never really understood the rush to call everyone a bust, but if you want to call him a bust, that's fine. But I was on this podcast 2-3 weeks ago, and I called Jared Goff a bum. And I regretted it. I hated myself. I in the moment I said, like, I hate using that word. For like 3 or 4 days, I was just like, that was stupid. That was unprofessional. Because a week before that, I'd written in our mailbag, like, I've learned to not write things in a disrespectful way to people. You can say that players are underperforming, that players are not playing poorly without making it personal, without being a dick about it, while respecting this process. Because listen, like, I know this is a game to you. I know this is fun in games to you, and I know emotions are involved, but these players are working their asses off day in and day night for you to suggest throwing shit on a player. Like, literally throwing shit on a player. And that's, to me, what bothered me about myself in that moment. And it's what bothers me about a lot of sports talk radio, because they don't show that respect, and they are never held responsible for it.
Well, I will. This is where I was going to go on the sports talk side of it, because while sports talk radio, as someone who's been doing the sports talk radio side for a while and bristles every time Jeremy decides to take a bat to it, even though there is like 1,000 more disrespectful bloggers out there. And I look at Ahmad as a fucking blogger asshole. This guy wouldn't even make it on 97.1, lowest standard as that is. Like, this is some kid with like a WordPress being a dick. Like, look, sometimes there is disrespect in sports talk radio, but several things happen there. Number one, especially on the old scale of those guys who were disrespectful in the past, they were still showing up at these games or making themselves available. If someone wanted to talk back, it would be there. On the other hand, I would say that disrespect in sports talk radio is used very sparingly and used as a proper weapon. It's used with restraint. Even someone like Mike Valenti, as wild as he gets, knows where not to throw a punch. There's certain codes on who and how you do it, because if you're just overdoing it, you're just a shock jock. And there's very few sports talk radio guys who are also shock jocks left. They are a dying breed, and they're a dying breed for that reason, is because eventually people just tune out from them because there's nothing that can really be offered after a while. You look at the most successful guys out there like Cowherd, who just, when they're wrong, they will admit they're wrong. Like, I don't particularly like Cowherd's style of radio, but he still like makes fun of himself, puts himself down, and self-deprecates all the time. But I know from working with some people in local markets who are the biggest knife wielders out there, that even then, when you decide to start like blowing the top, there's certain criteria you have to meet before you start going off on a guy. Number one, it has to definitely be on them. It definitely has to be on them. Like, Jeff Okudah is not someone he's not Richard Sherman. He's not going out there grabbing the microphone, screaming into it, going, "Don't you ever talk about me. I'm the best there's ever been." Never has that been true of Jeff Okuda. Jeff Okuda is quiet. Jeff Okuda busts his ass. Jeff Okuda was not looking for that spotlight at all. You were the one who brought the spotlight on him. That means you're the asshole. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? No. What the fuck are you doing, Ahmad? Like, that is, when you use that, when you turn it on a guy like that, you need to make sure they deserve it in that regard. Or they're a quarterback. The standard for going after a quarterback is a lot lower, because guess what? They get paid a lot more and they mean so much more to running that offense. I don't know why it is on quarterback, but it's also just kind of the legacy of sports talk in general that we assume quarterback is a bigger deal. Jeff Okuda is not a quarterback. He's a cornerback. He's a one single part of this defense. And like, what the fuck are you doing? It's bad for the entire business if you're sitting in there and using words like manure like that shit. Like, you're the one who should be flushed down the toilet, dude. Like, it's bad for the whole industry, because, like Jeremy says, it kind of gives the bad name and reinforces the stereotype that all we're doing is shock jock shit, which we're not. We're not. Well, I don't think there's been precious few of those guys lately, and you can't just come out there and just. And again, for what? What did Jeff Okuda like? Jeff Okuda isn't a bust because of his play. Like,
he's played one season.
He's played one season. And he had to play two different coaches. His Achilles got ruptured. What part of that is within his power? He didn't do any of that. So, like, fuck, man. Like, none of that goes on him. You are being, but again, this is the problem. You want to be good in sports talk radio. You need to make sure when you take that hatchet out, you bury it in the right place. Because if you don't, you are the asshole. And everyone knows immediately that you are the asshole. And I have no problem calling him the asshole on that, because you're a fucking asshole. Watch your fucking mouth.
It's just frustrating to me, because and I shouldn't just direct it towards sports radio, because that's not my intention here. It's sports discourse. It's sports discourse. And when it happens on the radio, the reason why I get frustrated is because in this town, it does happen on the radio a lot. And then
this is where all the bad stuff comes from the radio. I'll give you that. Yeah.
And when that happens, it makes our jobs tougher, because when, let's say that becomes a headline, Jeff Okuda sees it. Well, you think he's going to want to do an interview with anybody in the media? Do you think he's going to want to talk to the media? No. And the problem is, the beat writers do a very, very good job of not letting that sort of stuff happen. They'll put out some, rough looking headlines when the lines play bad, but you'll rarely see them call out a person personally. Almost never. And those are the guys that are there in the building every single day, that rely on player quotes, that rely on interviews and stories with these individual players. And they're getting hurt by these guys who spend all day in a fucking studio talking shit to fans that love doing that, because that's how they talk behind the back. That's how they talk on Twitter. And
it's different roles.
And it's just this perpetual cycle. So if the people in the radio stations or bloggers or whatever, if they cleaned up their act, it would benefit everybody. And I'm not saying don't hold people accountable. I'm not saying don't be critical of play, but there's a way to do it in a respectful manner. That are the players going to be happy if you write something bad about their play? No. Are they going to understand it when they're hearing the same shit from their own coach? Yes. But if you make it personal, if you throw out insults, that hurts the business. That's why everyone hates the fucking media, not only in the political realm, in the sports realm. It's because everyone makes everything so personal and doesn't, I don't know, just doesn't know how to be professional anymore.
Yeah. And again, like it's different for radio because there is this lack of professional, but that's by design. You're supposed to be the voice for the fan. You are talking primarily to fans and taking calls from fans. So it's not going to be these guys over here. I hate to say it. They're kind of fucking secondary. We're just talking about a television product at the end of the day. And like, that's kind of dehumanizing a little bit, but that's all what sports is at the end of the day. It is a massive dehumanizing process. But at the same time, like, I used to talk to guys who were in sports talk radio back in the ancient days, and they would go harder, but they also knew back in the day when you went hard on a guy, you could also invite them to call up and talk to them. You can't really talk to these guys anymore, so you have to kind of watch where you're going with some of it. It's like you can't just spray and pray too. You've got to, like, again, I ask that you need to be smart about when you pull out the hatchet, because it doesn't look good on you at the end of the day. It doesn't look, again, like none of this was the fault of Jeff Okuda. Like, again, if Jeff Okuda was out here running his mouth and being like a fucking like Johnny, like a Johnny football,
because you like Eric Ebron, but like Eric Ebron deserves some of the shit thrown at him because he was throwing it back, right?
Right. Yeah. No, like that's the thing. It's like you again, there, I hate to call it a code, but it feels like there's guidelines as far as who you can go after when you're in radio. And a lot of that is that punches have to be thrown back and forth. They can't just be you just slamming a guy who's being quiet, because then you're just the bully. And that'll get you places a little bit. One of the reasons why I don't think I have much of a future in radio is because I don't like to go in glad hand with bosses, and I don't like to, put myself out there nonstop. But like, so I'm not saying this is a killer for his career or whatever, but at the same time, like, man, I kind of know who you are at this point, and it's not good. Yeah.
And just call me DJM had a good point, but I think a lot of those radio types, and this goes to Chris's point, like, they sit up there in their studio like a castle, and they don't go to team facilities. Like, they're not the people that are working the beat. They're not the people that have to like show up and, face these people physically. Right. Like, not that it would ever get to that point, but like there's a level of cowardice when you take that shock jock approach, knowing that you never have to be held accountable. And
but I'm sorry, Ryan, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry. But
no, like
not only just not going to the facilities, but also just not even extending the branch to him. It's like, hey, like, come on the show. I want to talk to you. I want to find out what you're making. You tick, which is an old radio trick too. It's like, even if you don't have access to the facilities like a beat writer, you can still invite these guys on. You can still talk to their fucking agents and bring them on the show and build a rapport that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think real quick, the last point I wanted to make was, and we brought up Mike Valenti's name, but for what he does, and for, sometimes he can push buttons. Like, I just think it's an insane and asinine comparison to try to say that like what this guy Adam does is similar to what Mike does, because
Mike's professional.
They are in two completely different stratospheres, because I don't hear Mike Valenti, throwing personal insults towards players, and he has tact and accountability, and he pushes that line on the tact at times, but this other guy from Woodward like has none of it in him, like none of it.
No, this was a rookie. This was a rookie thing. This is someone trying, like, again, who doesn't understand just the lines that are here. And I know there's not many of them for sports talk radio. It's a lumpen kind of, work, but I mean, shit, man.
But yeah, just that the whole like studio castle thing is the point that resonates with me the most, because like I said, like I'll see 97.1 guys once a week. Like, that's about it. That's all they'll show up in, and it'll probably be even less now that the lines are 0-8. And I'm not trying to dump specifically on 97.1, because there are actually some guys over there that I do respect a lot. But that's the frustrating part, is when they solely the name of media, and then we're the ones that have the guys that are there every day are the one that has to deal with the consequences.
Well, again, sometimes we just don't get that access, man. Like, so what?
97.1 certainly has it. They're the official radio
but
station.
like I know other radio stations out there, man. Nobody's giving a fucking press credentials some kid in Toledo. Sure. Run in a radio station.
Well, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
yeah, I know. So I will give him that. He probably doesn't have access, but I mean, Woodward does have access.
Yeah, Woodward's there every day. I don't have a problem with Corey at all. I think Corey's learning the beat, like, and putting in the work. So I respect Corey.
Yeah, like but I get it. Like, and especially since we have to host so much sometimes in radio, like we don't have the time to go down there to do that. Like the guy who runs a post game show doesn't from a studio doesn't have time to go and talk with all the players. Like, sure. That's not so I don't want to like just say, hey, if you don't have access to the radio, to the locker room, you should shut the fuck up, because that would disqualify me too.
No, well, I'm not saying
especially in a national.
Just be like, I hate to use this word, but show a little damn decorum, would you please?
Yeah.
So you are.
I would say restraint. Like, no, again, like I keep saying, like there's certain codes as far as like when you can go after a guy, and you should know them.
And just like to bring back to Corey, like I feel bad for Corey because he's the one that has to deal with this shit too. Like since he's their Lions guy, every Lions opinion that comes out of that network reflects on him. And so, I mean, I've seen him kind of go to war with some Twitter followers that over things that he didn't even say.
Look, we should probably put our cards on the table too, that we were approached way early by Woodward to become part of them, which obviously we couldn't do just because of
we don't
how we are because how we are entangled with SB Nation. But at the same time, like you got bad vibes from them pretty quickly early on.
And I don't really want to get into it, but
yeah,
I don't want to get into it.
Here the one thing we can say, they clearly have a fan base they're targeting.
Yeah. And it's not ours. I hope.
And it's no.
I hope our fan base isn't.
Even then, I think it's a disrespectful to that particular fan base if you're just being that base. Like again, I only know like one guy who's still employed as like the Shock Jock Sports Dog Radio guy, because that kind of stuff just fell out of favor because it did do a lot of damage, and it was kind of again, you run your course after a while. You can only say so many like wild, crazy shit before you just like people are like, all right, this is boring now.
All right,
not insightful either.
Do we want to touch on Michigan State before we get back into it?
Yeah, I do, because I fucking hate both your teams. I hate them both, and I hate when it's this kind of week because the amount of self-flagellating that goes on from both these fan bases, it just gets ridiculous. Suffer.
I hate hate week. It's the worst because everyone generalizes. Everyone like feels like they have this really insightful look into the other fan base. Like, oh, I don't know if you've noticed, but Michigan State fans, they only care about Michigan week. They don't even care if they lose every other game. They just care about Michigan week. Oh, did you hear about Michigan fans? They're so arrogant. They think every week 2 of the season, they're like, oh, our quarterback's going to win the Heisman. Oh, we're going to make the playoffs. But they haven't done shit since 1997. Like, oh, wow. You really got us all figured out, guys. You're really smart. And it's the worst. And the game's always the fucking worst. And I hate it. And I was sitting here on Saturday during the Madden stream being like, oh, you should make a bet with me, Jeremy, that Michigan... No, I'm not going to bet you that Michigan's going to win this game. I don't think they're going to win this game. I didn't think they were going to win this game when they were up 16 in the second half. Both teams ran a flea flicker. I hate week. I hate Michigan. I hate it. And I have a different take that has little to do with the game, but the game actually was kind of fun. Like it was actually a good game. And until,
like objectively, it was a very, very entertaining football game.
And it was mostly well played too. Like all of the stars showed the hell up in that game, and it was good until Michigan decided to shit the bed in the fourth quarter. But
I just like what Jeremy does, where he tries to be way too nice on Twitter to seemingly like try to compensate for the hate week. Where he's like, yeah, very good game. Now let's move on from it. That makes me.
No, I said I'm moving on from. I didn't say everyone. Like I that was me saying I'm getting the fuck off Twitter for the rest of the day. And everyone like, because I had one small line about the officiating because we all know that overturn was bullshit, and then I got like 4 like, oh, Michigan fan complaining about officiating. I'm like, the same fucking sentence I said Michigan made way too many mistakes. Same, like I can acknowledge that officiating had an impact on the game, but also Michigan deserved to lose that game. I can say both things. It's not hedging my bet, Ryan. I know that's what you're thinking. It's acknowledging that the overturn was bullshit, but Michigan lost that game fairly.
The only thing I want to highlight is that Jeremy said that he was going to take a 14-day break from football, and I know that his ass is going to be watching Monday Night Football as soon as we get off this call.
Listen, I can stop watching football anytime I want. I just don't want to right now. I want to watch my.
I'm better at not watching football than he is, and I'm supposed to. This is like my sport. I don't even give a shit about like hockey or none of that.
I was definitely talking.
That's been documented.
I was definitely talking out my ass when I said I was going to skip football for 14 days. Bye week is the greatest week to watch NFL football.
Dude, I haven't been able, just because of like my schedule and how much I have to sleep and everything. Like, I feel like I don't get to watch any games besides the Lions games, and it's slowly slipping away from my understanding of what football is, what good football is.
I have one more take on the Michigan game, and I hate to bear my claws at another media outlet, and it's only
fine. It's fine. Whatever. Nobody's like. I respect our audience enough that your guys are going to be like, damn, did you hear what Pride of Detroit said about Woodward, about the Free Press in 97.1?
I learned
Colin Cowherd.
I learned a couple weeks ago I better be careful about what I say, because certain people that don't like
those guys.
me.
Fuck Don Drysdale.
No.
Fuck Detroit Sports Nation.
Right.
Fuck those guys taking us out of context all the fucking time. Fuck you bragging about your stupid fucking podcast that gets 20 fucking downloads. You gobsmacking piece of shit. You lying piece of shit who makes up staffers that you then fire and saying, oh, that guy's no longer with us. Fuck you. You're a one-person gig. Shut the fuck up. There, I did it for you.
That's not even what I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
But so I'm not even going to call them out, because I don't have any problem with the person who wrote it. I don't have any problem with the organization.
They're scum.
This is something completely different. Stop.
Oh, okay.
I read something about the Michigan game afterwards, and the basic recap was it, and this is also, I'm reading this with my emotions after the game, so maybe I'm overreacting to this. It was like, man, wasn't that Michigan loss just like a Lions loss? And I say, fuck you to that take. Michigan has developed its own culture of losing over the past 20 years. You can't co-opt that from now the Lions can lose in a Michigan way. The Lions haven't had a 16-point lead in 5 years. This was a Michigan loss. This was a pure Michigan loss. Building up hope for 2 months and then blowing it when you hit a rival game. That is a 100% Michigan Wolverine loss. Nothing to do with the Lions, because the Lions never have expectations. Blowing a 16-point lead, like the Lions are the first team to blow a 2-score lead. And literally, it hasn't happened. In how long, Ryan? Okay, they were up 10-0 against what team? Some team recently, whatever. Oh, the Rams. But
that game never felt like
that. Doesn't
I'm sorry.
The Lions are never in the driver's seat. They're never in control.
No. And the last time they was a long time. I know there was a while ago. Was it? Maybe it was even last year, where the Lions were really good first quarters and then they kept blowing 2-score leads. Whatever. But my point being, Michigan can't try to be oh, we're not ourselves. We're this team. That was a Lions. No. That was a Michigan loss. You have a talented roster, and you took the foot off the brake, and Michigan State got creative. They threw everything in the kitchen sink, and you're I'm gonna run the ball for 4 yards here. That's my rock paper scissors answer. I'm gonna throw a wet piece of paper.
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna happen. I didn't get my hopes up one bit. When they came back, what was it again? It was Wisconsin or Nebraska, or one of those red teams, where it's just they scooted by barely. I'm just yep, it's happening again. I don't even feel good about this team being 6-0 or 7-0 or whatever they were at that point. It's gonna happen again.
The thing that I like the least about what Michigan did, and I've watched a handful of Michigan games, but I am never a fan of let's have multiple quarterbacks.
It never works.
I've never been a fan of let's have multiple quarterbacks.
I don't know. I don't have that much of a problem with it, honestly, because I like JJ McCarthy, and I also like the move to be hey, you fumbled that one time, but we still trust you. Let's make a play here. Didn't work out, and I knew actually after the first fumble I'm God, I'm so glad they recovered, because if not, that's going to be the storyline. That's going to be the thing that everyone talks about. And then he went out and did it again, and God, I knew that was. But to be fair, see, I'm such a bad Michigan fan. I can't even think of the actual quarterback's name. He was having a hell of a game.
McNamara? Yeah, no, I was talking with some people.
McNamara, thank you.
McNamara, we were talking with I was talking with some Fox Sports radio people, and for all the problems Harbaugh's had about getting a team together, you can't say that this year he just doesn't have a fucking quarterback. He's got a quarterback. It's not Andrew Luck, obviously, but shit, he's got a quarterback.
I think I like what Cordy Aaron said. When you have more than one quarterback, you have zero quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's one of the oldest adages in the book, man. You can't run out two quarterbacks like that. That said, Ryan, I'm going to exclude Jeremy for a second. Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker the fifth.
Kenneth Walker, is it up to fifth now? I thought it was third. Are we up to fifth?
Yeah, we're up to the fifth now.
I didn't realize he keeps gaining in numerals.
One for every time he broke the goal line.
There you go.
Can we say second round pick?
You didn't mean that tweet. Just can you say publicly, please, that tweet was just to troll me and not real?
That tweet sole purpose was to insert itself into Jeremy's abdomen and turn. Like it was 100%. It was 100% the knife getting turned into Jeremy. There's for as much of a caricature as is become of Jeremy just being like team draft a running back in the 5th round. Like, I think that we're all kind of on the same page, even like looking at somebody like Deandre Swift, where we're like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be drafting running backs high in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
So to say, hey, let's use the Rams pick that we got in the Matthew Stafford trade on a running back, especially one that just ran for 5 touchdowns and single-handedly beat your football team, I felt like it was the most disrespectful thing I could say to Jeremy. And there were so many people who took me serious.
Yeah.
There's that I was being like a
I think
slappy
literally
Spartan.
up and through today, you were still getting responses where it's just like,
Oh yeah.
what an idiot! Like, no.
Yeah,
You
no.
think this team needs a running back?
Michigan sports fans, your ability to detect sarcasm lately has been really bad, because I made several ironic tweets during the game about Jared Goff being like, you know what, bad as it is, he did take a team to the Super Bowl. And I had people like responding in earnest. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I laid it on pretty thick. I thought I laid it on as thick as possible.
A lot of times when you get like a popular tweet, which Ryan certainly was, you son of a bitch. Like it reaches places where they don't know who the hell we are. They just see a random tweet and they're just like, who is this idiot? And like,
that's fine.
And there are certain fans that think like that's what the Lions should do, right? Like, they're definitely going to be some Spartans fans. And listen, like, I'm not going to take anything away from Kenneth Walker. That dude balled the fuck out and made like a lot of the yards he gained. He gained
hard yards.
He gained
hard yards.
Yes,
very hard.
And
yards.
I do think he has a chance to be something special in the NFL. Like, honestly, I do. But no, please no. Please no. If the Lions have 33, or if they use it on 32 or 33, which it looks like those are the 2 picks they're going to have right now, I might lose it on stream if we're streaming live.
Nick Baumgartner from The Athletic. Did you see what he called it today?
No.
We're going to start referring to the Lions draft this year as the snake draft.
It's true.
Well, it only really works for the 1st and 3rd round.
Yeah, but like still.
That's the only rounds where people are going to be watching.
Except, like Jeremy said, he wishes right now that he could be a part of the Rams beat on draft day.
Yeah. Just 2 picks.
A 5th round pick.
Let's do my mock draft of a 5th round pick.
Hey, it'd be Kenneth Walker the 3rd.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
I'll
That
take
would
him
be
there.
insult.
I'll take him gladly there. Kenneth Walker the 5th rounder.
I didn't want to talk about this in the podcast, but we do have trade deadline tomorrow.
I think we should talk about it on the pod. Well,
But I mean, the
never
podcast
mind,
will be
it's
coming
gonna
out
be
on
over.
Tuesday.
You're right.
Yeah. So I didn't want to talk about it on the podcast itself.
You're right.
Like, just real quick, any thoughts on the deadline itself? Like, I don't see the Lions doing anything.
No, and they shouldn't. The only thing they should theoretically even consider doing is selling parts, and I think there's not enough veterans on the team. Like, it's clear to me the veterans are on the team for leadership abilities more so than play. So I don't think they want to get rid of a guy like Nick Williams or Michael Brockers or Trey Flowers.
It's also, to me, it's like the tradable pieces are either pieces that like don't have as much value as I think people think, or
Sure.
they're tradable pieces that I wouldn't want to fucking trade because I feel like they're going to be foundational for years to come.
Yeah.
Like, is going back to the Taylor Decker thing. Yeah, he has value. Yeah, you could trade him. Why would you? Why would you unless you believe in just completely blowing up the team over and over every year? Like it's the same people who says like, oh yeah, you can trade TJ Hawkinson. Yeah, but why would you? Like what
Trade in a known value for a lottery ticket. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, and it's a known value that you're going to have here for years and years to come.
Yep.
Like they're going to have his player option through 2023. Yeah. They'll re-sign him. I don't think he's going to go anywhere else if the Lions decide they want to re-sign him.
It's the exact opposite approach as the Los Angeles Rams. They're interested in getting rid of all their lottery tickets to acquire top tier talent.
And maybe there's something to it, man.
Dude, right now they have a defense that has Von Miller, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Ramsey.
It's crazy.
Well, so the one Lions thing I want to ask you, Jeremy, it was something I noticed in snap count and while watching the game. Trey Flowers plays only 17 snaps.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem normal.
I mean, and you want to maybe throw Darren Fells into this conversation too. I'm not sure what's going on there. I kind of wish someone had asked Campbell about that today. But two veteran.
What about Jamal Williams too? Like that was injury?
That was injury. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about Trey Flowers. Like it's possible that maybe he's on the trade block, but I also think maybe that's like his knee seems to, like last week it seemed to really be affecting him. And maybe they're like, we need to dial you down a little bit right now and just let you get good. But that certainly did jump out at me with 20% of snaps or something. And basically Charles Harris is playing almost every snap, and they really bumped up Julian Okwara and Austin Bryant's playing time. And again, it's also like, well, this game kind of got out of hand too.
Yeah.
So
maybe
I don't
that
read too much into that, but I did find them scratching Darren Fells to be very weird, and there wasn't an injury on the injury report there, so not sure what's going on there. But like, do you really want like Brock Wright? Do you want him to be your tight end too? I guess it's not that big of a deal because Darren Fells was probably averaging about 10 to 15 to 20 snaps a game, not a ton, like a third, maybe a quarter of snaps a game. So maybe Darren Fells is a guy you move for a 7th round pick, a 6th round pick. He's not necessarily a leader in that room. You know, he's a veteran, but I think this team trusts TJ enough as a veteran at this point too.
You have to wonder how different things look schematically because Josh Hill didn't end up with the team.
Yeah.
Like, would we have been saying that Josh Hill was getting 15, 20 snaps a game if he was the guy who was on this roster? I think that you would say no. Like, I don't think that you would be even having a conversation of him being in a healthy inactive, like a healthy scratch. Like, right. I no way. And I think a lot of us saw Darren Fells and we were like, oh yeah, that's a guy who, like, he's graded out well as like a pass blocker and a run blocker. Like, he's just going to be Josh Hill.
Right.
I don't think that's the case.
No, but as some people in the chat are pointing out, like, having Darren Fells next to Matt Nelson in that game probably would have helped a little bit, right?
I was going to say having anybody next to Matt Nelson would have helped, but there was the play where TJ Hawkinson was supposed to chip Josh Sweat and he didn't chip him enough and Matt Nelson got blown by. So
right. Well, again, there was a point, I think it was with Hawkinson where Hawkinson stepped on Matt Nelson's foot and Matt Nelson got trucked. It might have been that same play.
Might have been, yeah. It could have been any of the 6 plays though where he gave up.
Right. I want to go back real quick to trading some of the veterans because I feel like that's where people might have the biggest.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just distracted. There's dueling interceptions going on in this Giants-Chiefs game. Sorry.
Is Eli losing his shit? Because I hope he is.
Apparently, John Stewart is on with the Mannings right now, and just as Danny Dimes threw that interception.
Nice.
But also before that, Patrick Mahomes threw an interception too.
He's washed, dude. The league figured him out. I heard that on a radio station. Everyone's talking about it, right? Like Mahomes struggling, and
he's just not having a good season.
You don't figure out a talent like him. There's no
no, but I feel like there is at least enough you can kind of like you get more tape on him. You can scheme a little bit better for some of the plays that he can make when shit breaks down. But obviously,
no scheme. Well, like when play breaks down, schemes are out the window.
Yeah, but at least like you know what I'm talking about. It's like, you know what he's going to bring to the table each week.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
again, going back to our earlier
He just threw a
conversation.
touchdown to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. Well, again, going to our earlier conversation though, like the reason we can like kind of be a little more wild about Patrick Mahomes is, again, like he's the one getting all these fucking commercials with like State Farm.
Right.
So
But he's in all of those Jackson Mahomes TikToks where it looks like
He wants to
like
die.
a cry for help.
Christ. Has there like one was like I know the Ball family had the crown for a while for most annoying like sports family around players, but Mahomes' brother is wilding out.
I hadn't
Like-
even heard of the guy until like the whole like he stepped on Sean Taylor's.
He was
thing.
doing a TikTok dance on Sean Taylor's number when they were doing the jersey ceremony for him.
By the way, I just want to say, Ryan, I appreciate you giving your weekly TikTok updates because I know you're a big fan.
I was just about to say something so mean to you.
He's an educator, man. He's got to know what the kids are into.
But
I'm
okay,
a
before
better person.
you sent that nasty tweet on Saturday, and I'm never gonna forgive you for it. But to circle all the way back to
Veterans.
yeah, like I thought Dan Campbell said something really interesting today, and that was that because someone asked, you know, do you think you're losing the team? You know, you think the losses have started to affect the players in any sort of way? He said, no, I don't think I see that, but we do have a really young roster, and it's on us to make sure that doesn't happen. Like these guys are like he basically said, like these guys are vulnerable for that to happen to, and the people that are going to make sure it doesn't happen to are the veteran players who are leaders on the team, and the coaches. So sending away a guy like Michael Brockers or Nick Williams, who everyone has already said all season that those guys are leaders in that room for guys like Ali McNeil, for guys like Julian Okwara and Levi Onwuzurike. You don't want to send those guys away right now because this is when they need them the most. Like, it's not about needing them on the field as much. It's needing them in that locker room week to week to show them that when you're going through the shit, when you're going through the adversity, you got to just put your head down and keep doing the work.
I'm about to piss off Jeremy in order to end this so he can go back to the podcast. So you're saying you need the veterans to keep them from getting lionized.
Yep. And that's why you go and get a former Ram, because he's not lionized. And I know for some reason people think Michael Brockers is lionized because he had one bad game.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jared Goff for a second. I'm like,
no.
he was lionized before he was born, dude.
Yeah, no, that dude was born lionized.
I hate that term so much. It's like it's so arrogant that like you're the only team in the NFL where it's like bad things happen like this. Like, man, I don't know.
The last thing I want to say is Justice Mosqueda, you suck.
Since we're taking a baseball bat to like literally everyone else on Twitter right now, okay.
Dude, he covers a team in the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers, and he has the audacity to get on Twitter and say that Ben Roethlisberger is like the worst quarterback in the NFL, and like it needs to be re-examined why he's even on the field because of his play. Like, you have the audacity to say that when Jared Goff plays in your division. I mean, admittedly, I guess he must have watched the first half of Lions Packers and thought that Jared Goff could do something.
I don't want to talk about Packers fans right now. Thursday Night Football pissed me off in a lot of ways.
Packers, there are a lot of Packers bloggers that are very arrogant. That's all.
Like, listening to the Packers fans whimpering after Aaron Jones is stuffed on the goal, is like loses that touchdown, and then
that's just our luck.
Yeah, that's just shut the fuck up. Aaron Rodgers on the sideline, like petition, like he's like fucking James Harden out there, like yelling at the refs the entire time. He's yelling at him as he's being tackled, like
for a horse collar that is not happening to him. By the way,
no, it's not. just and even when he's not on the field, he's like, you should throw a fucking sideline infraction on that asshole, man. Like, he's like going like this from the sideline when the defense is on the field. It's like, dude, like, all right. And for all that to get capped off by fucking AJ Green forgetting where the hell he is and acting like and doing his Halloween costume of J.R. Smith. to like lose that game for the Cardinals, that even after all the bitching, they still get the win.
I thought that was going to be the Kyler Murray moment. I thought that was going to be what, like, you know, driving back and scoring that. Like, if he scores that touchdown, I know right now, Jeremy, plug your ears. I know right now that Matthew Stafford is the clear front runner for MVP. Like, it's pretty obvious now, like, especially with the Derrick Henry news, which is such a bummer.
Yeah.
But if Kyler Murray has that moment on Thursday Night Football, I don't think people are rushing to say that, oh God, I don't think people are rushing to say that guy is the front runner for MVP.
Sorry. I'll change back.
No.
Okay, fine. I'll just change it to this then.
Oh, that's even worse.
No, someone paid for the library. We're going to keep the library.
It's a good library.
All right.
Segment 3?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I forgot. What are we talking about?
I'm shocked. We went even longer in this break.
Can I want to talk about, oh God, what was I want to talk a little bit more about, forget it. I was going to say more about the team not giving up, but I kind of just went into it there. There was another point I wanted to talk about.
We can talk about the not giving up thing on segment 3.
Okay.
Because I think that's relevant.
I'll see if I can figure out what the other
Listen,
point
scraps are not only very full, but I'm gonna have to censor some of them because we probably flew off the handle more than a few times.
We flew off the handle.
we. Royal we in my case.
Yeah, I guess we're all in this together.
Look, I'm tired of Jeremy getting all the headlines for calling people bums. It's like I put in a ton of work. None of y'all notice the crazy shit I say. Wrapping up the Pride of Detroit POD cast as Lions mercifully enter the bye week. Our old friend Manser, and you can check this one off the bingo card, said the Lions can't hurt us this week. And I asked him, are you sure about that? And his reply immediately was, no, I'm not. So we're going to have some fun over the bye week. We don't, we keep saying we like to have fun on these podcasts. And I feel like the last few weeks we've been in our feelings in many which ways. We're not going to talk too much about the trade deadline just because I know this podcast is coming out on Tuesday for our podcast feed listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the rest. And also, I don't think that we expect the Lions to really do too much. There might be a couple. I'm not saying there's not going to be nothing, but I also don't buy into this idea. What?
I'd be surprised if there's anything.
Yeah, the problem is like I just don't think the Lions have much to give up that they don't need right now. And I think we were talking off stream, and we'll throw it up in the scraps, but something I want to dial back to with Jeremy from it was this idea of veteran leadership. Like, you don't want to ship it out of town, especially when you need it right now, when, you know, something that Dan Campbell was talking about this week, especially in regards to how the young players, and there's a lot of them on this roster, handle adversity going into the bye week. And you need guys like Michael Brockers to help with that. Yeah,
no question. I mean, he literally, you know, he was asked whether he thinks anyone is, you know, losing faith, not giving it their all. And Campbell said no. And I think I believe him. And part of the reason I believe him is because when has Dan Campbell ever been afraid to say something, right? Like, if Dan Campbell saw someone slacking, saw someone not giving it them all, you think he'd be afraid to say that to the public? Because he's basically said everything that he says into that locker room in front of a microphone too, because he wears his emotions on his sleeve, for better or for worse. If he thought someone had given up faith on this team, he would have said so. But then he followed it up with something that I thought was very interesting, where he said, but we have a really young team right now. They're vulnerable to that sort of thing. They could, you know, lose a little bit of faith, drop the ball a little bit, maybe check out. But like you said, they've got some veterans on the team. They've got former player coaches on this team that are it's their job now for the next 2 months of the season to be like, you can't give up on this. You can't lose faith in this, because if we're not all rowing in the same direction, no one's got a chance. No one's going to get out of this. So the only way we're going to do that is with those veteran leadership. So I know everyone's looking at guys like Michael Brockers, like Nick Williams, like Trey Flowers, all guys who have phenomenal work ethic. And I know they're not playing particularly well right now, and that deserves criticism, but those guys are consummate professionals. They aren't giving up on this team. If you hear them talk, the way they talk, the way they carry themselves, they know what this business is about. They've been in this league long enough. They've gone through hardships enough to know what it takes to play through it. And that's what the Lions need right now, because it's going to get worse before it's going to get better. This team has a very, very good chance of hitting double digits losses before they get a win, if they get a win. And so those guys are going to be crucial. Is trading Michael Brockers for a 7th round pick worth losing leadership in that locker room and at this critical moment in this franchise's rebuild? Absolutely not. Same with Trey Flowers, who, with a knee injury and that contract is barely tradable as is. No. Nick Williams, not going to get you anything. There's no tradable assets. I mean, Taylor Decker is probably the closest argument you could make to someone that's tradable, but he's also injured. He's also currently on injured reserve, and I'm not sure you can even legally trade someone that's on IR. So
yeah, and I don't want, even if it was available, I don't want to after watching that, like what we saw from the performance of Matt Nelson today. I'm not saying that Matt Nelson, that you should just give up on his development, but at the same time, you clearly need that veteran in there to eventually, like, there's no value in getting rid of Taylor Decker just for another lottery ticket.
When you eventually listen to this podcast, whether it's before or after the trade deadline, don't be mad. Don't be mad when the Lions don't sell any of their parts, because they don't have any parts to sell. Like maybe Tracy Walker, but don't you kind of want him to be part of the future?
Maybe Trey Flowers, but I just, again,
too expensive and injured.
Yeah.
Not going to fetch anything.
Yeah. So other than that, putting that aside, like I'm just looking towards the bye week and what this team is really going to work on, because clearly they got a lot to work on. What would you say is probably, is there going to be any surprises to come out from this bye week? Do you see any kind of seismic shifts whatsoever, be it with the roster, with the lineup, anything?
I thought real quick, Jeremy, I thought going into this Eagles game, like we mentioned it off air, but like I thought it was shocking to see someone like Darren Fells be a healthy scratch. I can't see, like, with this roster, with this personnel, any like huge shakeups that they can make to really get things going other than getting people on the same page. And I think that this comes back to like a very fair criticism about like the coaching staff right now, is that they need everybody, as you said, Jeremy, they need everybody rowing in the same rhythm. And that's the only way, is if they're hitting on all cylinders. Like Dan Campbell said, if perfect is what it's going to take to win, they need to be perfect. And I think that totally comes back on the coaching staff. Like there's no rabbit that Dan Campbell's going to pull out of his hat that's going to trump what he did against the Los Angeles Rams. Right. Like that's a master class in trickery and playing the odds and having everything go your way and still falling short against one of the best football teams in the NFL. They need to have another one of those games against a team who's vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, they just essentially they can't let the foot off the pedal ever. They need that sort of stuff every single week. And I would love to, like, listen, that was a fun as hell game to watch. And last week was not, because the Lions didn't pull anything. So yeah, I would love to see them just kind of keep the pedal to the metal every week. And I know that's not simple to do. Like, you're also asking a very young roster, a very inexperienced roster to, hey, why don't you pull 3 trick plays every week? Like, that's a tough ask. But at the same time, like, what's the harm here?
Yeah, what's the alternative at this point? Can't really be vanilla at this point. You're not going to win in vanilla against the monsters that are out there.
Right. And the question I want to throw back to you guys is, and this is something that, crept up in the Eagles game right before halftime. Dan Campbell goes for it on 4th down when he could have put points on the board. Like, I think that's something where, like, he admits that, yeah, it was probably like I played like the situation around that one play wrong, and I should have played it differently. But man, you need this guy to stay erring on the side of aggressive. Yeah. You need him to keep being that aggressive guy, because feel like that's the only way that this team is going to capitalize and win a football game if they do this year.
You know me. I'm like Mr. Go for it on 4th and 1 almost in every situation.
And I think so is Chris.
That was not the right time. You're 22 yards away with 13 seconds left. The chances of scoring a touchdown on that drive for any offense in the league is very low. You get
they were out of timeouts too, right?
They had one timeout, I think.
They had one. Okay.
Well,
They may have ended up using it, but
I will say this, like, on that particular one, we're talking about the one, like, it was the Swift catch on the sideline, right?
For what?
For like when they went for it on 4th down.
Right before the half.
I don't remember what the actual play was, honestly.
Okay. Well,
I think he got sacked, right? I'm pretty sure he got sacked on 4th and 1.
I'm pretty sure. My point though was that I was going to agree with our friend Brett Whitefield in that I was fine with the 4th down to go for it on 4th down. It's just that you didn't really take the time out after the Swift catch on the sideline, just to really get yourself set.
And that's
wasn't it empty set too? It was empty set. It was Jared Goff and shotgun by himself, and I was like, this isn't good.
Yeah. And to be fair, like Campbell said specifically, like, I messed up on the timeout there. He didn't take back going for it on 4th and 1, which again I still think is a mistake because you don't have a lot of field to work with there. You only have 1 or 2 shots. 17-3 isn't a death sentence. Not that 17-0 is, but like, and not that a field goal turns a 44-6 game into a 40, into a 30-20 game or something like that. But at that point, like, do you really want to go into another half scoreless? Like, do you really want to do that?
Especially when you're not getting the ball coming out of the half because you won the coin toss and you said you wanted the ball to start the game.
Yeah, that was that was something.
But anyways, we're kind of getting off topic.
It's fine.
Looking forward, like, I think drastic strategic changes need to be made on offense, and I don't know what they are, and I don't have any answers given the personnel. But I think they're going to try something because that's all they have left to do is just like put some sort of crazy game plan out there, and maybe it's throwing the ball downfield, maybe it's, I don't know, doing more weird 2-back sets where you're confusing defenses in some sort of way. But like the game plan that they've been running for the past 8 weeks ran dry in about week 3, and we talked about it earlier. Like there needs to be something creative coming out of that offensive mindset right now that just isn't there because talent's not going to get much better this year. It just isn't. And so something crazy needs to be done on that end. Defensively, I think it's just back to the fundamentals there. Like I think they have talent to stick around in some games. And that's how they've stuck around in games, right? Is like the defense has pretty much kept them in games every now and then with turnovers, with forcing field goals instead of touchdowns every now and then. And we're seeing the secondary get better. We just need a little more consistency on that side of the ball. So defensively, it's not that I'm not concerned about it. It's that I don't think there needs to be drastic changes. Offensively, tear up the whole damn playbook.
Yeah. I think that's about right. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say I have my one thing that's gonna change this Lions season from the standpoint of them being over in the win column. I think that there's legitimately only one thing that they can do that's going to give me the confidence that they can win a football game. And Taylor Decker has to play. Like Taylor Decker has to play because
let's talk about this.
if we keep saying that Matt Nelson is such a problem, which it is, and it's just really unfortunate that guy is in the position that he's in because he's given up a team high, again, 34 pressures through 8 games. Like that's just that's not going to cut it. And if Jared Goff doesn't have time to operate, how is he going to take shots down the field, Jeremy? Like how is he going to develop, as Chris says, how is he going to develop a rapport with any of his receivers when Trinity Benson goes targetless and Kadero Hodge gets one target that he drops? Like I'm certainly not defending Jared Goff. What I'm saying is I don't think that there's anything this offense can do aside from giving Jared Goff more time, because I know, like, the receivers, it's not the greatest receiving core, but I think that there's enough talent there. Like, if Khalif Raymond can have a game where he gets over 100 yards, like, I think that Anthony Lynn is capable of scheming something up. If it means Jared Goff needs more time, I think that equals Taylor Decker.
I think this is a really interesting topic that maybe we can close out the podcast with, because the Lions have to make a decision on Taylor Decker very soon. I'm not entirely sure what date it is. I looked up something that Tom Pelissero tweeted, and he said 21 calendar days from when they started him at practice, which that means Wednesday. But then Dan Campbell said he thinks that they get an extra week because it's a bye week. I'm not entirely sure which one it is, but they have a decision to make, because it doesn't seem like Taylor Decker is ready. It seems like he re-aggravated his knuckle or something on that hand. And so I think there's a really good chance that by the time they have to make this decision, he's not going to be ready to play. So that means the Lions will have to face the decision of either locking him down for the rest of the season and saying, hey, let's just get you ready for 2022, or let's activate you, have you fill up a roster spot for a couple weeks, and then whenever you're ready, we'll get you out there. Now, is a roster spot that valuable to the Lions right now? I don't know, probably not. If they're spending one on Kaderil Hodge, then I think they can probably spare one. But I think there's a philosophical question here, right? Like, is it even worth it to throw Taylor Decker out there? What's on the line that he can help you out with that's valuable to this team's future right now? Is it just picking up that one win so that you get that monkey off your back? Is that worth it to potentially risk Taylor Decker doing whatever to hurt his chances at the future?
Chris, I don't think 2021 matters. So
no,
I'm going to defer to you.
I would like one win in there, just because I feel like there's a contingent of Lions fans who are now getting chesty, being like, oh, I never wanted Dan Campbell to begin with. I'm like, okay, great. Fuck you. How about that? How about that? Because I didn't deal with your abuse when I said I didn't want Matt Patricia. I would like that one win, and that's like the only reason I would play Taylor Decker. But that's really it. It's to me being petty. We've gone into the season knowing that this season doesn't matter. This is a hard rebuild. And again, the only thing you can really take away as far as a win is to say you're not going to immediately become the first team to go 0-17. Other than that, hell, man, we've known the value of the first overall pick for years, and that the value on that first overall pick keeps getting more and more psychotic. Even in a year where there is no clear number one quarterback that you can that is the one downside to 2022. There's no clear number one quarterback that you can either take or pawn off King's ransom for.
There was this year, though. His name was Trevor Lawrence, and look at where the Jaguars are at.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the problem is with Trevor Lawrence down there. I think Trevor Lawrence still has a good future, but it's just, no, I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
It's there's just that. Look at what teams spend to go up to get those. And unfortunately, but Kayvon Thibodeau might be that at the top. I don't know.
Or he just might be a really good player to have on your football team.
Yeah, I'd love to have him. We've talked before about how we don't really. I'm sorry, I know I'm getting into draft talk with Jeremy. My point, though, is that if you're going to embrace the tank, this is part of embracing the tank, and this is kind of the back and forth, because on one hand, we don't actually like tanking. People don't actually like tanking. I know some people like to talk about min-maxing the draft, but this is what you get. If you want to min-max the draft, you're going to lose nearly every game, and you're going to have to feel awful about it all the time. And I don't know. And the calculus is, again, and we've said this before, about how much the culture do you burn, slash, and sacrifice for that. But I would also posit, as I've been sitting here thinking about it, I think a lot of that culture is already burned, slash, just on the warrant that this is the Detroit Lions at the end of the day. Their reputation can't get much lower.
I said the highlight of my football weekend, even beyond the Michigan State victory, was the tweet that Snacks had, where it's like, Dan Campbell's the guy that people are going to want to play for because he's authentic.
Right, because when he says that game was on me, he means it.
He means it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that value that's going to be valued a lot more than people suddenly who were a week ago applauding Dan Campbell for, his fiery passion and keeping his teams to quit, now writing saying, "Oh, he's on the hot seat." Not really. Yeah. And it's definitely more valuable than here we go, taking out another hatchet. Michael Strahan going out there. Was it Michael Strahan?
Yeah.
Going out there and saying how much he doesn't like players, signing jerseys for other players or swapping
After a
jerseys
44-6 drubbing, yeah.
Yeah, at home. Like, who cares, man?
That
Like,
was something the old regime cared about.
Right.
That's
right.
yeah.
That's
And again,
the whole
how'd that
point.
work out? How'd that work out for Matt Patricia? How'd that work out for him, insulting Darius Slay's, manhood? Like, how'd that work out?
No, I mean, people have to realize, Trahan has to realize, one, this is a different culture of players. They're going to want jersey swaps just happen. Instagram pictures happen. That sort of thing is important to people, and they're able to compartmentalize. They're able to say, hey, this loss makes me feel like crap. It's going to stick with me for the entire week, probably the entire 2 weeks because we're on a bye week. But in this moment, I want to say hi to my friend. I want to say hi to a guy I idolize. Did you guys read the story about Levi Onwuzurike stepping up to the Andrew Whitworth?
Yes, no, that was fantastic. Like
it was Derek Barnes. It was Derek Barnes.
Derek Barnes from the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah,
like
he
this guy
shared
showed
that
up there.
Awesome moment where the guy, he went to his Boys and Girls Club with should he not approach someone who is his idol because he just lost a football game? Give me a break.
This is something. I mean, we've talked about this. If you follow like some of the NBA coverage, the fact that all these guys used to play on AAU teams together, and they're maybe too friendly in that regard because they all know each other. But like, man, like professional sports is professional sports in that they get paid regardless of wins and losses. Like the amount that you get paid is directly eventually tied to like you get accolades like say All Pro, Super Bowl, or Pro Bowler. Like that follows you after your career and helps you get better opportunities after your playing career. But in the moment, like we're not taking away paychecks from these guys if they lose. Like, I mean, and I don't think that'd be right. Even if they did, like you go out there, you give your all, and the Lions did give their all. And guess what? You still got smoked. That sucks. But that doesn't also mean you then go into a hyperbaric chamber and contemplate your losses, failures, and the void that comes after death until the next football game. Like you still have to like you respect the guy on the other side of the field and say, good game. Isn't that what we teach to all our kids these days about good sportsmanship? Like that's what happened afterwards. Like this thing with Strahan is bizarre, but it makes sense coming from him.
And I think the part that resonates with that message for fans is like they're the ones that the fans are the ones that can't control their emotions, right? Like they're the ones that are pissed off on a Sunday. And listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't be pissed off at their performance. They were horrible out there, but they're pissed off. And if they see a player that's pissed off, it's I care more about the game than they do, and that's not okay. And that's not what that is. It's just they're doing a much better job controlling their emotions.
Look, like
which is what you need to play in this game, right? Like you need to be able to weather the storm.
This is the weird thing of trying to talk about the NFL, because I think former players do believe that earnestly, especially from guys like Strahan or like from the age of like the 90s Raiders or whatever, where guys actually legitimately hated each other.
Right.
But at the same time,
that's
like
just not what the NFL is anymore.
Yeah. And guys who are up on TV and on radio or elsewhere have to be, patricians for the fans who are pissed off all the time for various reasons, because and I'm not saying the fans are wrong too, because we're watching sports because we love to pour our weird, crazy, wild, and uncontrolled emotions into this thing.
Yeah, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, we would be watching.
We're allowed to do that.
If you couldn't pour your emotions into this thing, if you couldn't drink to it and you couldn't gamble on it, no one would be watching.
Right.
No one would be watching sports if you couldn't do those three things. Ryan,
I'll tell you this about Sunday and managing emotions and things like that. Like that's where the fans separate themselves from one another though, right? Because like watching a game where the Lions lose as bad as they did to the Philadelphia Eagles, that tests your ability to be a composed fan.
I applaud anyone who watched all 60 minutes of this game.
I did.
Thank you.
Well, Jeremy, you lost it. You started apparently Joker laughing in the press box.
You published the recap after 3 quarters.
Come on. Dan Campbell is calling timeouts down 38 points in the
that was torture. That was torture. If I'm going to kill Dan Campbell for anything, it's that you made us endure that game even longer.
Yeah. I mean, that was
running clocks should be a thing.
40 points or more, right? Like you just have to.
Yes. Like there's no reason to warn anybody about there being 2 minutes left.
Guys, this felt like therapy. I feel a lot better right now.
I'm glad. And I think we'll close it up there. And once again, we have to recap again at the end of this about our donation drive. It is Movember. From my own heart, as a sexual assault survivor, we are donating to RAIN later on this month. Right now, though, Ryan's up. Prostate cancer research. Is it
the Prostate Cancer Foundation?
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Already on this stream, we've raised about $950 in about 2.5 hours of us just pouring out our hearts over this awful football game.
So if you want to donate, prideofdetroit.com. I'm going to keep the article up there all month so that it's right there on the front page that you can see it. There's a bunch of links there. If you visit our Twitch streams, all you have to do is type in the exclamation point donate. A link will pop up. That's how you donate. Bunch of Lions prizes on the line. Bunch of fun stuff. I already had to write something on my forehead, but thankfully we found out
you
that
did
a Sharpie,
it on Sharpie too.
Yeah, thankfully a Sharpie apparently can get washed off with soap and water after about 20 minutes.
Yeah, but listen, there's a lot of prizes.
Just a motherly scare tactic.
And I will say this on the podcast, on the side of podcasts, like one of the rewards is to mute various hosts if you donate a certain amount of $80. You can mute a host of your choice for 1 minute. So that's going to be happening on the podcast throughout the month. And I feel like I need to warn people every time about that now, because that's going to happen.
It's going to be great.
Let's get out of here. For myself, for Jeremy Reisman, for Ryan Matthews. Ryan. I caught him off guard.
What do you want?
You close us out, remember? You've been trying to take the reins at the end of the shows every now and then.
Come on, man. Limp Bizkit just dropped an album. Give me some fire.
I feel like I've cursed the team ever since I took over the outros. They've just been losing.
What, have you been doing the outros for the past 60 years?
Jeremy, haven't you heard, though? It's Detroit sports media's fault that everything's going wrong in sports. It's the reason why Cade Cunningham's ankle isn't healed. It's the reason why the Lions are bad.
What they didn't tell you about the Stafford trade is he said to the forwards, like, I'm specific, like it's the media. That's why I want to get out of town.
The media.
Okay. All right. There's my sign off. It was Jeremy saying that and me going, that's bait.